Bum, bum, bum.
All right. So, welcome to everyone for the ASL Season 6 draft. Welcome to the stream, and we'll be beginning in a moment. But with me, I have as a co-host. Want to introduce yourself, Brad?
Hey everybody, how you doing?
I'm going to turn off the music. It's a little bit loud. All right. So, going into the draft, what do you think are going to be the first round picks, Brad?
Oh, well, I figured a lot of the kind of normals, ASL tends to go back and forth on the same kind of set of mons. Definitely Megalodios is probably coming. You assume Mega Venusaur's been in what every championship game ever in the ASL, so
Yeah.
it's probably going. Deoxys is a hot pick for us. Um, so just a lot of the normal utility mons, Mew, Necrozma is a good chance to go. Zygarde 50, a lot of the um, standard powerhouses, I would assume.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and at Ferret. Ian will join us whenever he's ready. But I'll add him and we'll get this draft ready to go. So, yeah,
All right.
those general powerhouses like Mega Venusaur, bane of my existence in finals games. So that's definitely got to be a pick on everyone's mind. And Hoopa Unbound is now allowed, so that might go early.
Right, right. The ASL tends to have a setup focused style of play. So your bulky setup mons tend to go um, pretty high priority picks.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we have our first pick, and we're going to go ahead and show everyone what the pick is.
I'm currently watching the stream, and I see Celesteela showed up. So Celesteela, of course, anyone that plays Pokemon knows this is just it's bulk at its finest. Decent recovery with Leech Seed. Um, Hard to kill. Beast Boost makes it really difficult to face and to beat. It can set up on you pretty easily with Autotomized. Great Z move user. No real surprise here.
Yeah, for sure. Celesteela is just a pretty much a very versatile mon that really does it all. Great Z mover, one of the best Z movers in the game. It's just such a powerhouse at what it does. And not surprising that it went number one, if I'm being honest.
No,
And
not so.
yeah, it's just a monster, in all honesty.
Yeah, and it's so hard to kill unless you have a really good fire type or a really good electric type. You are pretty much not going to OHKO this. Okay, next pick came across. We got Megalodios again, another no-brainer pick, another hot pick, an obvious pick. Um, Great mon. Megalodios can do so much. It's bulky. It's got recovery. It's got defog. It's the perfect support mon. It's the perfect sweeper. It's a great bulky mon. I mean, there's nothing you could really ask for that this thing doesn't give you.
Yeah, this thing does it all. Unlike Megalodios, it's not as bulky. It just gets that little bit of extra special attack power, but it's still really powerful. Ian has joined the call. You want to take over, Ian?
Ian, give us your thoughts on Megalodios' second overall pick.
If only he wasn't muted.
That would help. It would definitely help. But again, Megalodios, great thing about it, physical threat and special threat can go both ways. Third pick coming through is Tapu Koko.
Not showing up.
Ian is still working on his mic. Tapu Koko, one of my favorite mons. A mon that I didn't believe in at first, but definitely was proven wrong. Super strong, both physical, both special. Good setup, great U-turn volt switch combo. I love so you're not blocked either way. Really good mon. Decent Z user. I enjoy using it as a Z user when I had it.
Yeah, you used it last season. You used it to pretty good success, even before the team was taken over.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
and the thing that with Tapu Koko having that the move where it reduces half health, Nature's Madness. That's a really nice little tidbit. So Tapu Koko can't break everything maybe, but it can take that 50% and you turn out.
yeah, very, very good mon.
So coming in our fourth pick, we've got Tornadus Therian. Ian, do you have your mic working? Not quite yet. Tornadus Therian, of course, is the versatile monster. It's a great Z user. Z Fly is incredible. Knockoff, U turn, Hurricane, Heat Wave. Tornadus can do almost anything. Now it has Defog because it needed extra utility for some reason. Regenerator makes it a great life orb user, one of the best life orb users in the game. What do you think about Tornadus D?
Got the mic working, Ian?
I
No,
think
I have decided to
excellent.
join in the interim because I feel like this is a little bit unprofessional at the moment. No offense, no offense.
We're on stream, so why don't you talk about Tornado Steven?
So Tornadus T is quite a versatile Pokemon overall. Very much a strong special attacker if it can land its moves, which is why it's going to be very much appreciating stuff like Z Crystals. It's a really good Assault Vest Mon, Rocky Helmet Mon, and it's just got a lot of utility with stuff like Taunt and Defog. Maybe not the best fourth pick, but definitely very solid bulk and like glue for the draft overall.
Looks like pick five's up. We've got Kieran Black going to the Master. Ian, what's your thoughts on Kieran Black?
It's just so powerful. It's so difficult for balanced drafts to have to swap into. So yeah, it's definitely going to be the bane of a lot of those bulkier kinds of drafts to have to face. It just clicks super effective moves on pretty much everything. Unresisted Z Freeze Shock is going to claim a kill pretty much every time on balance. And it's just so bulky as well, so it doesn't even have to fear too many hits anyway. Its typing isn't necessarily the best defensively, but it can definitely take some nice hits like water resists and just sub roost up. It does a lot.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Kieran is bulky at its finest. Its power, along with bulk, its roost, it's annoying for sure.
So next up we have Lando T. You can talk about that one.
So Lando T is the staple of OU. It's the glue that holds OU together. It's on every major draft. It's a first rounder pretty much in every draft. You're picking Lando T, you know what it is. It's got the Intimidate, it's got the bulk, it's now got Defog, it's got, great Z move user. It's a good sweeper, powerful knockoff U-turn, decent special attack that's a little bit underrated, but has come out in the last few seasons. It started to be shown a little bit more, but Lando T is just great power. Stab, EQ, always fantastic, and Z-Fly kind of took Lando T from good to great. But now we got next pick, pick 7, Megalophony. What do you think about Megalophony?
It's like such a fast Pokemon. It's probably the biggest threat against offense in the game, just because it's so difficult to outspeed it, and it's like impossible to actually really swap in on this thing. There's no really good swap ins outside of stuff like Pythagoras, which not every draft is going to have, and it's got a really respectable attack stat to just spam that return, and a lot of things that like people don't necessarily realize is, of course, that it has a lot more utility than you would expect from just like this offensive Pokemon. It gets stuff like Encore Power Up Punch, it gets Healing Wish, Heal Bell. It does a lot of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily expect.
And not to interrupt you, but in the ASL, we do allow baton passing of stats, so Megalophony could do that for us as well.
Yeah, so why don't you talk about Zygarde?
So Zygarde 50 is a mon that really, it's kind of amazing. It has its entire utility based on one move, for the most part. 1,000 arrows took Zygarde 50 from mediocre to a pick. It's got good bulk, it's got Dragon Dance, Coil, it does a lot of those things, but 1,000 arrows is what takes this monster from obscurity to being the princess, man. It has the power to knock out those flying mons, those Celesteelas, those Skarmories, the different mons that really couldn't touch without having Thousand Arrows.
Yeah, just the freedom that it gets in this move pool allows it to answer so many more of its counters.
Definitely. Another Dragon Ground coming up, one of my personal favorites, Garchomp. Pick number 9. What do you think about Garchomp?
I'm a big fan of Garchomp. I honestly probably like it a little bit more than Zygarde 50%. Yes, it's not going to be spamming the ground moves quite as effectively, but it definitely is a lot more versatile in what it offers a team. It offers like a lot of strong offense and a lot of good like defensive swap in potential as well. It's a fantastic wall breaker. Swords Dance plus 2 is going to knock something out almost every single time. It's got a fantastic speed tier as well. And yeah, like I said before, it's all about that utility for your early picks, and Garchomp definitely has some really nice utility.
Great Z-move user, by the way. Great
Yeah,
Z-move
for sure.
user. Really good option there.
But yeah, next up we've got Mega Kang.
Mega Kang, certainly in the ASL we don't allow seismic toss, so it's not going to get that free 50 on everything, but still a lot of power. Still 2 boost power up punches, really powerful return, good utility, decent bulk. It fits better on a bulky offense team, I think, but it's strong. Power. Match this up with a sticky webs user later. This thing's got a chance to do some work.
Yeah, for sure. It's just really fat as well, so it definitely finds a good niche on balance.
So we've got a nice wall breaker coming in here in Mega Gallade. What do you think about Mega Gallade?
Mega Gallade is a Pokemon I've been wanting to use for a while, but just haven't really gotten the opportunity. It can be somewhat outclassed by a lot of the other like Mega Psychics and Mega Fighting types, but it definitely is really solid in what it does. It's got a really nice speed tier in 110. Would definitely like really appreciate that kind of Mega Lopunny speed, but then it would just be busted because 165 attack with its insane coverage is nothing to laugh at. And it gets stuff like Swords Dance or Bulk Up to really abuse that, and pretty decent bulk stats, so it's not like it's struggling to set up at all. So yeah, it's just definitely going to be able to put on the hurt. But next up we've got Zeraro, tier 2 pick.
This is an interesting first round pick, and I think for me anyway, this is a bit of it's new and it's a toy, and I want to play with it. I like Zerora. Fast Electrics are a staple in Draft League. I don't know that this mon has the versatility that you're looking for in a first round pick to be the center piece, the focal piece, the glassware on the table, if you will. I don't know if this mon has that, but it's fun, it's powerful, and it'll be a really enjoyable mon to use and prep with.
Yeah, for sure. It does not get much versatility at all. It gets like Taunt, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So coming in pick 13, we've got Kartana for Malone. What do you think about Malone and using a kind of a setup sweeper like Kartana?
I think Malone's definitely a lot better suited to the bulkier types of Pokemon. I'm not sure how well he's going to really fare with Kartana because you can't really just set it up with ease. You definitely need to play well to pivot it in. It's not something like his classic Cresselia, Florges types of things where he can just sit there and click Calm Mind over and over again. So it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how he is able to adapt his playstyle to fit this Pokemon. But it is, of course, a fantastic mon. Choice Band and Choice Scarf is doing fantastic work. And as we saw from Season 4, it just does so much damage as a setup sweeper as well. But next up, we've got Jirachi from Gran.
Unless I'm mistaken, this is the last pick of the first round.
Yep.
And I like Jirachi. I like a lot about Jirachi. It offers great versatility. It can set up. It can serene grace people if you just want to make people quit the league. It's got rocks. It's got so many different things. For me, my holdback on Jirachi, does it offer enough power to be a top pick? Not for me. But does it offer enough versatility to be a top pick? Most definitely so.
Yeah, for sure. It just does pretty much every role that you really need for a Pokemon, and it does fill out that very important Steel typing. It's got pretty decent speed here, but yeah, this is our first round picks. So I guess we're going to do a quick wrap up if you want to lead that off.
I do want to point out for those that are looking at this that maybe aren't part of the ASL Discord. If you aren't, please join. Come hang out with us. We've got some good people in there. It's a great place. Garbador is a franchise pick from TJ. TJ won last season, so he's allowed to franchise one lower tier mon. He chose to franchise Garbador. So in case you see that, you're wondering where that comes into play, you're looking at. But definitely any mon in this group that you kind of think doesn't belong.
Probably Zerara. Definitely he's got 100% case of the new Mon syndrome, no question about it. Tier 2 picks as your first round does mean that you're probably going to be lacking in the power department come end of draft. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even have a tier 1 pick, because I don't feel like he should be picking tier 2s this early into the draft unless you don't plan on getting any of the tier 1s. So yeah, that's definitely the one that stands out for me.
Yeah. Looks like we're back with a next round pick, and it looks like it's going to be Jirachi. Greninja. Greninja pairing with Jirachi. How do you feel about that synergy?
I'm a fan of it. Greninja is gonna be pretty nice at just coming in on a few of the kinds of hits, but the main thing is that it's gonna be like offering some nice support with stuff like spikes and T-spikes. The T-spikes in particular is gonna be great for helping Jirachi break down some stuff, because he can just flinch and get the T-spike damage racking up. And it's just a really versatile Pokemon. I'm not sure about it going this early, but I do see the thought process behind it, because it is one of the better answers to Jirachi as well. But yeah, I guess he just wanted to get that out of the way. Next up, we've got Goodra. What do you think about that one?
So, Goodra and Kartana, I think, are a really nice pairing. Kartana obviously dies to virtually any fire move. Goodra lives, I think, most every Z fire move. I don't think there's a Z fire move that could kill Goodra. So I like the pairing. I like the synergy. He's definitely set himself up to need a lot of additional support. He's going to need healing. He's going to need hazard removal. Kartana can defog, but you're not clicking defog on Kartana. So he's got a lot of holes that he's still going to have to fill. Pick 17 coming in. You've got Mega Sharpedo coming in with Zorora. What do you think about that pairing right there?
I'm honestly not a huge fan of it. It's just offense for the sake of offense, and I do love my offense, but I'm not really seeing the synergy here yet. Both of these are going to have immense trouble breaking through stuff like the grass types in particular, and they're not really complementing each other in any of their weaknesses. But Sharpedo is a massive threat. Speed boosting is going to allow it to really deal heavily with offense. So I feel like this is going to be one of the more difficult drafts to face down if you do have offense. Next up, we've got Suicune from TJ.
Yeah, and I will say on the last pick, Zorora does have Volt Absorb, so maybe that's his thinking. I don't know. Gallade Suicune. So this is starting up a really nice bulky offense. Gallade with the bulk up and the speed can actually be really bulky with Drain Punch. Suicune, Calm Mind, Rest, Substitute. Suicune's annoying. No one enjoys facing a Suicune, and it matches up really well with a Gallade. Suicune can take almost every hit. It's a good swap in for Gallade. Garbodor's down there already, throwing out some spikes, making an opportunity for one of these two to click a setup move, get a kill. I like where he's headed. Pick 19 coming in, second pick. We've got a Heatran pairing up with Kangaskhan. What's your thoughts on Heatran? Is it a second round pick?
I love Heatran as a second round pick. I feel like it really does go under the radar a lot. I'm pretty happy to get this Pokemon even mid round one. It's just so versatile. Just as an offensive and defensive Pokemon, it's dealing so much damage with like base 130 special attack, especially with Z move. Z Bloom Doom is gonna really be a good choice for luring in those waters. And then Z Flash Cannon as well for some of those dragon types that want to absorb the fire moves, but then it also, of course, is like such good defensive typing. Even though it's weak to ground and water, it's still gonna take the hit. But yeah, next we've got Mega Diancie.
So this is a mon that I think sometimes when you draft you have to look at the mons, you also have to look at the coach. Milan has two mons here that he's really comfortable with. He loves Garchomp, he loves Diancie, and I've seen him have success with Mega Diancie before. It's a good calm minder, it's really powerful. Magic Balance is maybe a little wasted on Deontay, but can still be useful when it starts setting up and avoiding any kind of roar or toxic. I like the pairing, offense, versatility, can do some things together that complement each other. I think it's a good pairing. But quickly coming in with our next pick, pick 21, we've got Infernate coming in the second round. I think that's a bit of a steal. What do you think?
I would love to talk about that, but I did just get sniped heavily, so I'm going to have to throw that one over to you.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to talk about this, and I love Infernate. I have personally used Infernate to an offensive Mon of the Year award. Infernate is my favorite Z user in the meta, really powerful. Firefighting Stab takes out a lot of the meta. It gets U-turn. It's really fast. It can do some support things with Stealth Rock and doing some nice things to help your team, but it serves its role best as a breaker and really, really powerful, especially with the speed and being mixed. Now we've got Latias pairing up with Mega coming for Hutch. Are you ready to talk about Latias?
Yes, I am. Latias is definitely a very solid Pokemon overall. Such a good dragon type pick. It's got really nice bulk. The psychic type is also super handy, and it just pairs so well with the Megalophony because it is going to come in on a lot of the things that Megalophony doesn't want to deal with. Yes, they're going to have a little bit of trouble breaking through the fairies, but Lopunny does definitely take care of the steals for Latias very effectively. And Latias just sponges so many hits, spams Draco. It's just really solid.
Yeah, and this is a nice pairing that I think we've had success before in the ASL. I like that. Looks like we've got Ferrothorn coming in here. So Ferrothorn Landorus T starts off on a really bulky core. He's got a nice bulk coming in. He's got good hazards already. He's got Leech Seed. It's gonna be annoying. They complement each other pretty well. Ferrothorn's gonna take the HP Ice. Lando's gonna take the HP Fire. I like where he's going. Starting off with 2 quad weaknesses. I don't know. What do you think about 2 quad weaknesses to start with?
Honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing. Lando T Ferrothorn is just like a really good defensive pairing. They deal with each other's issues super well, and then they force you to split hidden power fires. So you're like Mons aren't really going to be able to successfully deal with both of them in one hit once you scatter the hidden power fire. So yeah, they've just got really good defensive synergy.
Yep. Yeah, I tend to agree. Now we've got Mew coming in with Cam. What do you think about Mew?
I am kind of surprised Mew lasted this long. If I'm being honest, it's gonna be really scary to face this team so far. Such good bulk, and Mew is really gonna take those hits with Pure and Black really well. Medium Z is allowed, but he will not be able to Z Crystal both of these. So it's going to be interesting to see how well he's going to be able to run the offensive Mew, especially if he does decide to Z it. But overall, they're just 2 fantastic picks already. So like it's going to pair well, no matter what you do with this.
Yeah, they have a lot of instant recovery already. You know, with Mew, there's all the versatility you could ever need, but both can take each other's hits. Both can absorb a lot of hits. Both can deal out big offense. I'm a big fan of this early pairing.
So yeah, next up we have Cobalion, and you can lead the discussion on that one.
Certainly, you know, Cobalion is fast. It's strong. It has Volt Switch, which is always a plus. Nice setup. Rocks, a little bit bulky. I do think that Cobalion benefits when it has the Z Crystal, but it's not going to because I would assume Tornadus is definitely going to have that. But definitely
both
nice
of those
to
can have the Z moves actually.
Oh, okay. They can both. I think Cobalion and Tornadus is a great option to both have Z. Tornadus gives the U-turn, Cobalion gives the Volt Switch. I like it. Next up, we have Mamoswine pairing with Tapu Koko, a pairing we've seen recently in past seasons. What do you think about that pairing?
It's like tried and true for sure. I've seen it was drafted in both season 4 and season 5 actually. Just because of how well it works together. Mamoswine is such a good breaker, and Koko really does like deal really well with a lot of the things that Mamoswine is going to have trouble with, and vice versa, honestly. The other great thing is, of course, Mamoswine is one of Koko's better answers, so it is taking that off of the board for him to not have to worry about. So, yeah, the ice moves in particular are really going to help out against those pesky grass types, and it does give him rocks as well, so a little bit of extra versatility never hurt anyone. But next we've got Diggersby.
Diggersby is one of those mons that in a vacuum it is challenging to deal with. It can break almost anything. It's powerful. Normal stab is so frustrating to have to deal with. Great choice band user. I like it with Megalodios, and I like it better with Megalodios than by itself when you pair the two. It's that U-turn. It can do some nice things. You can actually set up spikes. I think these two paired together bring a lot of offense in the early rounds. Now we've got, of course, I hate this pairing. I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to hear you talk about it.
All right, I am happy to talk about this. You've got Celesteela, Mega Venusaur, everyone's favorite core. This one season 3 and a very similar version of it won season 4. Steel type plus Mega Venu is just really good, just always. And Celesteela is probably the best defensive steel type. So no surprises there that they're really gonna be taking the hits pretty well together. So yeah, this pairing is obviously really nice. The thick fat means that it's gonna be pretty nice at sponging the fire hits for Celesteela. And, it's not an unbeatable core. They do take a lot of moves neutrally at the very least, but yeah, it is going to be tough.
Yeah, I think for me, we're looking at the recap here. To me, there's no question the best duo so far as just these two synergy working together. It's got to be the Celesteela Mega Venusaur.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. They're just like we just went over it pretty much. They're just like probably one of the best defensive cores, and they're both so strong as well. You cannot really just switch in and take advantage of them being fat because you will get run over.
Yeah, I think you offensively there's some other really nice options. I think the Garchomp Mega Beyonce offensively is dangerous. I think the Infernape Zygarde is really dangerous offensively. I think there's a lot of nice pairings. A couple of pairings I'm still waiting to see how they're going to make it work out, but there's some really good options, and you're starting to see some teams go toward the defensive end, go toward the offensive end. You're starting to see that formulate, and I see some thought processes going on here. I think round 3 is going to tell us quite a bit more about the teams. So, speaking about round 3, we just saw Venusaur come in. We just saw Celesteela. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite, probably my favorite fairy. Let's not say one of my favorite fairy, Sylveon, mixing in with Venusaur, mixing in with Celesteela. And I want to tell you, I'm not coaching in season 6, and I'm not upset about not facing this team. Sylveon's going to wish pass into Celesteela. It's going to wish pass into Venusaur. It's going to calm mine. It's going to be choice specs one week. It's going to hurt you. This is a really tough, bulky offensive trio that no one's going to enjoy facing. No one's going to really be excited to face these three. Beatable. They're all slow. They all need setup to do a lot offensively, but really tough to face. Next pick's coming in, round 3. Milotic pairing into Latios and Diggersby. What do you think about that?
I'm personally not a massive fan of Milotic. I feel like it's too passive for what you want a water type to be doing, especially in the tier 2 pick. But there's no denying that the fat water is very solid with this team. It's just going to be sponging up a lot of those hits that the other Pokemon don't want to be doing. I kind of feel like it's a little bit passive for what the team is, though. He's got such a nice offensive core that it's a little bit weird that he is going with such a passive standstill type of Pokemon. But it is more of TCP's comfort zone, really, so I do understand it.
Yeah, and Milotic, it is a little bit passive, but it walls physical and special, and I think that makes it a little extra valuable. So round 3, pick 31, Mega Pinsir's coming in. Mega Pinsir with Coco Mamoswine. That's a really interesting pick. What do you think about that?
I'm a pretty big fan of Mega Pinsir plus Coco, honestly. Just because Coco is really nice at pivoting in, and Mega Pinsir really does appreciate that really solid pivot. They're not necessarily going to be covering each other like super fantastically, but they do cover each other moderately well at the very least, and Mamoswine definitely is going to be there to help support. We're going to need to see some better removal. Okay, yeah, apparently Hutch is in a really bad spot here. That's rough, but probably not as rough as the Ferrothorn's Knight for me. But yeah.
So this is your pick. Tell me, I like Slowbro. I like Slowbro even in the third round. Why do you think it was the right pick to go with Cobalion and Thundurus? Or Tornadus, I mean.
I'm going to be honest with you. This was supposed to be Tornadus Ferrothorn Slowbro. That was the original plan. I didn't really have time to change it too much. I feel like Ferrothorn Slowbro is a fantastic defensive core, but Cobalion Slowbro is still going to be doing pretty much the same type of thing, but a little bit more offensive. Slowbro plus Tornadus T is just going to give me that nice regen core, and Slowbro is just like a really good blanket wall to just throw in at a lot of Pokemon and take the hit pretty comfortably. And it's not too passive either, which is great. But yeah, next up we've got Serp, so you can lead that one off.
Superior is one of those mons that looks like it's a one-click mon. You know, you click Sleep Storm, and then who knows where it goes from there. It does have a little bit of versatility. It can defog, it can glare, it can leech seed, but Superior is best known for coming in, clicking Leaf Storm, and trying to break through some walls. The only thing I don't like about Superior, it has such a low special attack that without Leaf Storm, it really doesn't do much of anything at all. What do you think about Superior?
Yeah, it's definitely not the strongest Pokemon without setting up, but if you don't have a good counter to it, then it's pretty easy for it to set up. And then there's obviously the infamous Subseed set as well.
Sure.
But next up, we've got Mega Medicham AZ drafting some absolute power. You can lead that one off. Or no, wait, no, it's my turn, isn't it?
You go ahead
Yeah,
with
never
this
mind.
one.
Sorry, it's my turn. So yeah, that's gonna pair really nicely with the Lando T. Lando T, probably the best pivot in the game. I'm gonna provide nice rock support, nice defog support, and just get this thing in to deal some big hits pretty frequently. Gonna be interesting to see what kind of dark type or ghost type that he pairs with this to deal with those psychics that are gonna be a pain in the ass for him. But he's pretty much set to break anything other than that with this Pokemon because it is just so strong.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see Webs come in later for this team.
Yeah, same. So Hutch has got a deep sigh as he picks up the Crobat.
You know, I don't think this is a deep sigh worthy mon. Crobat is well known that outside of Zapdos, Crobat is my favorite flying type. It is powerful, it is fast. The thing about Crobat is its speed allows you to invest heavily in other areas. So it's bulkier than people expect it to be. It's harder than people expect it to. Banded Brave Bird kills most things outside of steel types. I love it with Lopunny, Latios. A lot of synergy there. Hazard removal already. He's done with that. Maybe gets one more. I love it. I love the pairing.
Yeah, I'm not mad about Crobat. I was getting Crobat. Doesn't matter which plan I was going with. I just really wanted the Sylveon, so I'm kind of mad that I got sniped on that this round.
Sure. I understand that Sylveon's a great mon, but synergistically, I don't think there was any reason to wait on Crobat. I think it fits. I think it's the right time. The speed with Lopunny, Latios, and Crobat, really good. He's going to need to get some low-end speed to help with Trick Room. I like Crobat so far. Next pick should be up any second. Yeah, I'm excited about that trio. That's a trio that I could use myself. Mon I've been one to use for a while. Mega Pidgeot. Tell me about Mega Pidgeot, Ian.
Probably one of the most slept on Megas in my opinion. Not so much in this league. I think it's pretty fairly tiered here, but it's got such a nice speed tier. Hitting that 375 is going to outspeed almost everything, bar like the 130 base speeds pretty much. And flying type is just such a good offensive type, and special flying in particular is really hard to deal with because the rock types are usually going to be Fizz Def,
Right.
leaving a lot less swap-ins, and just having 100% accurate Hurricanes is going to be so great. It doesn't really have great coverage, but it doesn't need it too much because it's just going to click Hurricane anyway. Yeah. But next we have Shaman.
So Shaman pairing up with Garchomp, Mega Deontay. I like it. Shaman's good utility mon. Natural Cure is a nice ability. It has the Leech Seed, it has the Synthesis, it's bulky, the base 100s. We do have a pretty predominant ice weakness here. He's going to need to bring in a steel type pretty soon, maybe a good fire type. But I love Shaman as a mon. I definitely see it working really well with Deontay. Gonna need some other picks, but we're only in the third round. A lot of time to go. But I do think Shaman Deontay is a really nice pairing. Now we have another dominant grass type in Tangrowth. What do you think about Tangrowth and Heatran?
Pretty upset, honestly. Tangrowth was kind of looking to be a potential backup for the Slowbro, but that's is what it is. Heatran was also a backup for the Ferrothorn, but it's definitely really solid Pokemon. It's just once again such a fantastic blanket check. Assault Vest is going to be putting in fantastic work as a special ball, and it doesn't even need to run Fizz Def to really soak up those hits. It's just such good defensive typing, and it synergizes so fantastically with the Heatran. No surprise to see them paired together at all.
Shame that people forget about Tangrowth's offensive abilities, though.
Yeah, it definitely hits like a truck. But next up, we've got Rabombi throwing webs in with this.
So this is a classic TJ pick, in my opinion. You're going to have Calm Mind, which can be Baton Passed in the ASL, so I could see a Calm Mind Baton Pass into Suicune, get the webs up to help Mega Gallade. I think we mentioned that earlier, that would be a nice thing. I like where he's going. Do I think Rabombi's a third-round pick? No, I don't. Do I like Rabombi? Absolutely. Very strong, powerful. Could see it being used well. Like that it has U-turn. Do not think it belongs in the third round.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's one of those Pokemon that's probably going to last till like 6th or 7th, and you probably aren't going to be too upset if you end up being stuck with, say, Galvantula or even Araquanid. But yeah, next up we've got Staraptor, another tier 3 pick. I'll talk about this one. It's once again another pretty slept on Pokemon. You don't see this thing drafted too often, but it's just so powerful. Its 100 base speed tier isn't like necessarily the best for what you want out of an offensive Pokemon, especially with the speed creep, but it's just so ridiculously strong. 125 base attack, stab Brave Bird with Reckless boosted, Choice Band. Pretty much nothing is really going to want to swap into that. It's mostly to it KOing almost every single Pokemon. So yeah, just such a strong Pokemon. And yeah, that's going to deal with the grass types that I was complaining about last time.
It's true.
But yeah, next we've got Thunderous T.
So the same thing I would have said about Staraptor, I'll say about Thundurus. It's never too early or too late to draft U-turn. It's the best move in the game, and seeing Thundurus T come in here, great U-turn user, great Volt Switcher, of course, probably better Volt Switcher than not, but powerful. I expect this to, well, I don't know, Kartana or Thundurus, great options as Z users. Thundurus is going to help him get into Goodra, it's going to help him get into Kartana. The Volt Absorb may be a little lost here so far, but I'm sure he's going to get a good water type later. Thundurus T is a great mon, great setup sweeper, crazy high special attack. We're coming in here, last pick of the third round. We've got Gliscor pairing with the Ninja Jirachi. What do you think about that?
Honestly, I think Gliscor should have gone at the start of round 2. I think it's probably the best tier 2. At least top 5. It's just so versatile. If you're watching the OU meta right now, it's just on so many teams. It does what Landorus T does a lot of the time, but it gets Roost. It's not going to be as strong for sure, but it definitely is very solid with Swords Dance Taunt as a wall breaker. It's going to be setting up the rocks and defogging. It's got so much utility, very similarly to Landorus. It just is kind of a little bit behind that. But yeah, I definitely would have expected this to go a little bit earlier than it did.
Yeah. I think the one thing that kind of holds the score back in some people's minds is that it's a bulkier mon in nature that struggles with an HP weakness. So I think some people are afraid Hidden Power is going to come in on my bulky mon and may cause me problems, but I still love it. It's great mon. Definitely worthy of a second round pick. Giratina third, that's a steal.
Yeah, for sure.
Recapping here, we're through 3 picks. Any team stand out to you as the team that you think maybe you would want to use the most?
The team that I would want to use the most is probably looking like AZ's. It's just got so much power already with the Mega Medi and the Lando T. and it's just got really nice defensive synergy with Orlando T and Ferrothorn. They're just like, it's all looking really nice so far. Yes, he doesn't have a lot of the key types, and he's already spent a lot of points, so it will be interesting to see how he picks that up. But yeah, it's obviously just looking so solid.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Milan starts pairing together his draft. He gets a good water type, and that team right there could be one of the most dangerous teams in the league, I think.
Yeah, I agree for sure. That's definitely one of the top contenders too.
Yeah, and we're not going to talk about Ferret's team with that core. We don't like that. We're not going to talk about that. But we do have Clefable coming in, and Clefable is a fairy that is not high up on my personal draft board. I usually stick to Sylveon, but we're in the fourth round. We're in the fourth round. Just a reminder to people: you've got a Magic Guard monster here, annoying, Calm Minds, sets up, hard to get rid of. You need really, really powerful attacks to deal with Clefable. You're not going to really set up on it with Unaware in case he's running it that week. I like the pairing with Jirachi. I like the pairing with Blitzscore. This team's set up to be annoying, and this one's looking a lot like Ferret's team for me. Really going to be tough to break through. Next pick, though, we've got Donphan. Tell me about Donphan.
Donphan's pretty average, honestly. The main reason why people love it so much is it does have that roll compression of getting up rocks and rapid spinning. But I don't think that's really that important nowadays, just because defog's a lot more common. As a bulky ground type, it's not really the best because it doesn't have any form of reliable recovery like some of the other options, and it's not really going to be hitting too hard. So it's not going to be like taking massive advantage of its swap-ins.
Right.
That's not to say it's bad at all. It's definitely pretty solid for its tier, but
Yeah.
like I'm just not a massive fan personally.
Yeah. So we're coming in here round 4, pick 45. Looks like we got Typhlosion pairing in with Staraptor, Sharpedo, and Zorora. For me, as a commentator, I look at Typhlosion. I like the Eruption set. I like the Specs Fire Blast. It's strong. Does it fit on this team? Nope, not seeing that. It doesn't help with any of the other weaknesses with Flash Fire. I do like that he has a Fire Absorber. I like that he has an Electric Absorber. So some good synergy there. Does it fit? Is it worth a fourth round pick? Definitely not for me, but it is strong. It can break walls. It can do nice things. I don't like it at that pick. Pick 46, round 4. We got Mandibuzz. Tell me about Mandibuzz.
This is going to pair pretty nicely with the Suicune. He is developing a little bit of an electric weakness, so he's going to want to get some nice big ground type, which is worrying me a little bit with the fact that I think he's ahead of me. But yeah, Mandibuzz is just that fat mon. It's got really nice split defensive. Dark Flying typing is really nice for checking a lot of the different Pokemon in this meta. It definitely does kind of fly under the radar with stuff like Tapu Koko running around, but not every team has Tapu Koko, so it's definitely going to be able to come in a lot of matchups and just soak up hits. But next we have Bish drafting the Slowking to complement the Tangros.
Yeah, this team, again, I said it at the beginning of the draft, the ASL tends to go toward bulky offense on most teams. Not every team, but a lot of teams go toward bulky offense. You're seeing that here. Mega King, Heatran, Tangro, Slowking, all 4 mons are very difficult to one-hit KO. All 4 can put on pressure offensively. Nice regeneration core. Some people actually prefer Slowking lately over Slowbro, and I see it. We've seen Slowking perform well in the ASL. We actually saw Slowking win Gimmick of the Year award with a belly drum. Got 2 kills, I think. So nice pick. I think it's going to work really well in Vicious hands. He's a good coach. This is the kind of mon that I could see him using with proficiency. But now we're coming in. We've got Metagross. Excuse me, Mega Metagross is banned. We have Metagross pairing in with Deontay. Tell me what you think about that.
Metagross is definitely a really nice and versatile Pokemon. It's got like really nice bulk for a tier 3 steel, and it's just really strong as well. It's not super fast, but it can definitely pull off some nice sweeps with the agility set. It can run an Assault Vest pretty nicely to trap. a lot of the time. So I think it's gonna pair pretty nicely with the Mega Diancie. Yeah, just
Also
not a
covers
lot
that
to
ice.
say there.
A lot of big ice weakness with Garchomp and Shaman, and Metagross takes every ice hit forever.
Yeah, for sure. Still gonna want to see a bulky water though. Speaking of bulky waters, we see Rotom Wash here.
Yeah, what do you think? So Rotom Wash, Zygarde 50, and Fernie at Mega Pidgeot. We've got 3 momentum mons getting us into Zygarde. We've got Zygarde setting up. Rotom's taking the hits to help with Zygarde. Pidgeot's breaking some walls to make sure things work good for Zygarde. Fernape helping out. Fernape's maybe setting up rocks. We need a better hazard setter, but I like that this team, for me anyway, I see a lot of focus on making sure Zygarde can do its job. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Rotom Wash is just gonna be such a lovely pivot for it, and it just does really offer a lot of support. But next up we have Primarina from Hutch. This is gonna be the thing that's replacing the Sylveon, and it's definitely not gonna be doing the same job. It doesn't offer that wish support, but his wall core so far doesn't really need the Cleric too badly. Primarina is gonna offer a really nice wall break for this team, so I think that this is possibly even a better pick for him overall. It's just such a strong Pokemon, and it does have some really nice natural bulk that you can use. Rest Talk even is still a pretty viable set. It is a really nice resist for a lot of types.
You know, Primarina is one of those mons that doesn't look amazing until you put it in damage calc. Then you put it in damage calc, and you're like, oh man, I don't think I drafted the right thing to face this. But moving on, we're pairing up Incineroar now for AZ with Medicham, Ferrothorn, and Landorus. I like Incineroar. It's going to take the HP Fire. It's going to take the HP Ice. It's going to U-turn, slow U-turn to get Medicham in the field safely. It gives me Intimidate here. Now we've got our Intimidate core. We've got a potential slow U-turn core. We're starting to get Medicham in the field a little bit easier without having to face that taking a big hit like you would if you were taking a fast volt switch. So I like the slow U-turn with Medicham. But you're up to tell us about Nidoking, or Queen, excuse me.
The one pick right before me, Nidoqueen is such a good Pokemon, man. It just does so much. It's not as fast as its brother Nidoking, but it is pretty much just as strong. Sheer Force Life Orb damage is going to be really nice for dealing a lot. And obviously the Rocks and Toxic Spike support is going to be really huge, especially with Kyurem Black just subbing and roosting, Superior subbing and seeding. He's going to be able to stall down some teams with Toxic Spikes pretty easily. And yeah, it's just a really nice bulky pivot. But next up, I draft Nidoking. I definitely wanted the Nidoqueen, but you can try to console me here.
Yeah, you know, nothing wrong with Nidoking. A little bit more offensive, I think. Definitely doesn't have the versatility that Nidoqueen does, even though the stats are very similar. Nidoqueen just seems to take its better. But Nidoking is definitely a power. The Sheer Force Life Orb boost turns Nidoking's stats from pretty terrible to pretty amazing. Pairs really well with Torn, I think. Absorb and Slowbro, taking the electric type move, making it useless, getting up rocks, getting off a big hit. I love it. What do you think about Serena coming in with Mega Pinsir, building up some flying type weaknesses? What do you think there?
I'm not a massive fan of Serena as a Pokemon. It's decent, I guess, at pretty much everything. It can spin fairly decently, it can pivot fairly decently. That pivot core with Coco is going to be nice to give him a ground resist. But yeah, like you said, the flying weakness is going to be starting to stack up. You don't want Coco to be the only pivot to the flying types. He does break flying types pretty well with the Coco and the Mamoswine though, so it's not a huge issue. I can see this draft shaping up quite well with a potential nice tier 3 or 2 water. But yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Serena, decent mon. Not a lot of versatility for me. Never high up on my draft boards, but I've seen it do some work. For sure.
So the next pick should be coming up soon, hopefully.
Yeah,
we've got Roserade.
Yeah. So Roserade, for me, when I look at grass types, if I want to pick a high-end grass type, definitely looking at Mega Venusaur, that's gone, I'm personally looking at Roserade. It's that high up on my draft board for nice grass types. I prefer this to your Amoonguss, to your Tangrowth. Give me Roserade. Give me offense. Give me spikes. Give me Leaf Seed. I love what it does. I love its versatility. For me, this is my second favorite grass type to have to draft. What do you think?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love Roserade as a Pokemon. It's just so fantastic at so much. But moving on, we've got Gligar here, the little baby brother for the Gliscor. Nowhere near as good in my opinion. It's a lot more passive. It doesn't get that toxic orb recovery, so it's not going to be as holding that same longevity. And
Right.
that knockoff weakness is really going to hurt in the long run. But it is a very solid, like bulky ground type with Sylveon with support. It's just more fat on fat, so I don't see this doing I see this doing a lot of work for him regardless. So moving on to the recap.
For me, that Gligar pick, I think it's the first time so far that we've seen Ferret reach into the bag and take something a little bit deeper and maybe take the premium stuff that hadn't been picked yet. So I definitely see him dipping in quality for the first time in this draft.
Yeah, that's true. He has dipped a little bit in quality. He probably wanted Gliscor, honestly. But yeah, that did get taken. But yeah, so what teams are looking to be really threatening? Once again, for me, it's got to be AZ's. The Incineroar pick really does help round it out a lot. Developing a little bit of a water weakness, but I'm sure he's got a really nice water type to patch that out.
Sure. Offensively, I keep going back to Milan's team, but that's the kind of team I enjoy seeing. Really nice offensive options. Hutch's team with Megalot, Crobat, Primarina, Lottie. That's a lot of offensive options.
Yeah, for sure.
I do like reaching in, grabbing the Nidoking, pairing it with the Tornadus with the Slowbro. I think that was a nice pickup, a good option. Having the Cobalion there to stop the Ice type move already. I think that was a nice glue pick that could come in handy when we get into team prep. Okay. A lot of good drafts so far. There's the only really one draft kind of sticks out to me is like I'm not sure where we're headed yet. But everything else is looking really solid so far.
Yeah, and White Ferret decides to pick up some offense with the Haxorus. Definitely wasn't the direction that everyone was thinking that this draft would head in, but I'm sure most people are pleased to see it. It does mean that he is going to be able to have some offensive presence to back up his just fat. Haxorus isn't one of the better dragon types, but for a tier 3 pick, it is going to be a very threatening dragon dance setter. And this basically just ensures that you're not going to be able to just bring full-on anti-stall and ignore his threats, because if you do that and he sets up 1 DD, then it's pretty much over. Haxorus is very good at sweeping teams when it wants to.
Yeah. This is the kind of, if you're going to run bulk, the hope is to run bulk to open up something for a mon like Haxorus. Speaking of big offense, coming in with Darmanitan. Darmanitan, I don't. Is there a team it can't break? I'm not sure. Probably not. Darmanitan's ridiculous. It's insane.
Got to say, Allo teams probably.
Allo teams potentially for sure. I absolutely love Darmanitan. I hate that it takes such rocks damage after the flare blitz damage, but beautiful mon, powerful breaker. It doesn't have to worry about Milotic because it's already on TCP's team. So I really like Darmanitan. I like the U-turn option to pair with Diggersby's U-turn. I think it's a good fit there. What do you think about Empoleon coming in saying, flying types really don't matter that much to me?
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of the Empoleon pick. It is looking very reminiscent of Envy's team from the most recent GBA. I'm sure he did get a lot of inspiration from that. Empoleon's just gonna be a nice offensive stealth rocker and defogger. So they're gonna be able to pivot in on a lot of good hits, get off the defog almost every time, get up the rocks almost every single time, and yeah, just it's pretty nice bulky water. Gotta say, I'm not liking how well his team deals with fire types though, if this is gonna be his water. So
Right.
we'll just have to see there. But next up we see an Amoonguss coming from me.
Yeah, I like Amoonguss. Goes with the slow grow. Now we've got a nice little trio of regenerators. Amoonguss does so many things well. It's never going to be a giant hit mon. It's never going to take away 3/4 of a mon's health, really. But Amoonguss is the type of mon that can rack up kills because you cannot get it off the field. And it can be really difficult to face, especially Assault Vest. It's one of those mons that just, you can hit it and you can hit it, but unless you're hitting it with stab from a mon with 120 plus special attack, it just probably isn't going to die. But moving on, maybe my favorite sweeper, one of them, especially Dragon Dancers. What do you think about Mega Gyarados coming in with Nido Queen, Kieran Black? That's kind of looking nasty.
Yeah, this is a really nice looking offense so far. Mega Gyarados is very much one of the prime Dragon Dance sweepers, and it's definitely been rising in usage a lot recently. Very big fan of seeing it drafted here, especially being pretty good value at tier 2. It's super bulky, surprisingly enough. It is going to be a very solid water type, and you do have the kinds of mix-ups of will he mega, won't he? If you want to like try to go for one of those bug or fighting or fairy type moves to break it, which can definitely give him some free dragon dances in a pinch. So yeah, it's definitely a very solid sweeper for this team. But next up, we've got Toxapex from AZ. AZ, trade teams with me, bro. Just trade teams with me.
Before I talk about Toxapex, I do want to mention from the last pick, in the ASL, you are allowed to bring your Mega and not Mega Evolve, but it has to be carrying the Mega Stone, which helps Gyarados quite a bit. But anyway, Toxapex coming in with Incineroar, Ferrothorn. I don't know if AZ is going to be able to lose. You have to kill the Toxapex and the Ferrothorn in order to beat him. I'm not sure how you're going to make that happen. They complement each other so well. They take all the earthquakes. They take all the fire type. It doesn't matter what you're bringing. Those two mons together are going to be absolutely frustrating to have to deal with. Still expect to see webs coming on this team at some point. Someone like maybe a Galvantula or something like that, I think could come soon. But that team is looking really nasty. One of my favorite mons coming in, Rotom Heat. What do you think about Rotom Heat with this team?
I'm a pretty big fan. I'm just going to go back for a second and say that his team is looking like such a threatening OU team. Just he plays OU, you can tell. But yeah, Rotom Heat, definitely quite like this Pokemon. It hasn't had the best performances in the ASL. Not really sure why. Yes, its weakness to rocks is going to limit its capabilities as a pivot and as a defogger. But Rotom's just such a good Pokemon and all of its forms. So just Volt switching around is going to be big threat. Overheat is going to be really nice for some steel killing for the Latias in particular. And yeah, he's definitely got some really nice pivots going for that Primarina for that Latias. Next we see Stack Attack, a very interesting Pokemon.
So the thing about Stack Attack that I love is that it brings in a lot of power. It can take a lot of hits. It can come in. It can pull off a Trick Room. Zygarde's not the fastest. It's not the slowest, but you can run min speed on Zygarde, get under quite a few things. Rotom could benefit from Trick Room. Trick Room's not going to work with Infernape. It's not going to help Pidgeot, but I do like Stack Attack coming in with his team. It does have a fighting weakness. He doesn't have the best fighting resist yet, seeing that he doesn't have a fairy. He doesn't have a good bulky psychic yet, but I do think it works. I do think it fits, but I think it creates a spot for him to have a few holes that he needs to fill. What do you think about Licky Licky in the 5th round? Is it time yet? You think it's time for Licky Licky yet?
I don't think it's time, but I could also have seen it going like round 6 potentially, just because it's like it's kind of almost a meme pick. Not to say it's a bad pick at all. It's such a good fat wish passer. It's gonna be able to tank some hits really nicely. I'm not really liking it super well on this team so much though. I'm not seeing how well he deals with the fighting types, and I'm not really liking the passive nature of it on this more offensive team. I don't think it's really going to be wanting to pass wishes into a lot of the Pokemon. He might be able to pull some stuff off, but I'm not a massive fan of it. But next up, we've got Zygarde 10%.
I love Zygarde 10% on this team because Zygarde 10% is fast, it's strong, it has the most broken move in Thousand Arrows, but it dies to an Ice Shard from a Delibird. But we've got Heatran here, and Heatran takes every Ice Shard from everything forever. And so Zygarde's a great option to come in. You can get your Tangrowth Regenerator out, bring in Zygarde. Slowking can Regenerator out, bring in Zygarde. Get off a big hit, get back into a wall that can continue taking hits for it. I think it fits really good on this team. He needed the speed. I think it's the right mon at the right time. What do you think about, is Rotom Mow the right mon at the right time for TJ?
I probably feel like the answer is yes. I definitely love that he's starting to get some pivots for the Mega Gallade, and I definitely love Rotom Mo just as a general pick. Very similar to Rotom Heat, but it's not going to have to worry about that weakness to rocks. Yes, it's not necessarily going to be pivoting in on like the important fairy typings and stuff like that, but it is going to be a really good way of dealing with those bulky waters for stuff like the Mega Gallade and set up stuff like screens even. Just spread some status. It's definitely like a really good utility Pokemon, and it's just so strong as well.
Yeah, I definitely like Rotom Mow. It's really grown. Used to be it was Rotom Heat, Rotom Watch, and nothing else mattered. But now the rest of the Rotoms have really stepped up its game. Lycanroc Dusk coming in for Shadow. Here's an honest question. Is the Shadow's team, does it not just get swept by almost every Dragon Dancing Mon?
Does it not just get swept by almost everything, honestly? Like, I feel like he hasn't got any defensive backbone whatsoever. And we see that that's what Shadow tends to do when he either drafts Suicune, Scrafty, Swellow every draft, or when he steps out of his comfort zone, he decides, I'm not going to get anything with any kind of bulk. Everything will die in one hit to any move, and that's just how I'm going to try to play it. And this is definitely one of those drafts. But yeah, I do like Lycanroc Dusk as a Pokemon. I don't like it on this team. Let's talk about Slurpuff.
Slurpuff with sticky webs becomes one of the more sought after fairies. It has the belly drum set that no one enjoys facing. It definitely uses the Calm Mind Draining Kiss sometimes. Does it work with Kartana, Thunderous Therian? I think it does, actually. I think the sticky webs could come in, allow maybe Kartana to run a little bit of extra investment somewhere else. Helps Thunderous, who only has 101 speed, could use the boost. Donphan can rapid spin rather than defogging to ensure the webs can stay up. I think it works.
Yeah, I 100% think this works. I think it's a fantastic pick for him. It's definitely the kind of fairy that you want to have on this team. But next up, we've got a Muckalolan form. He's drafting a pretty similar team that he had last draft, honestly, which is surprising enough. He's going very similar to what Cody had drafted and he took over. He's got the double dark and clef, but this time he's doing his own little spin on it. He's got a nice Jirachi to help with the core. So I'm liking this version more, I gotta say. I like Mark Alolan a lot as a setup sweeper. He's got a lot of really good bulky setup sweepers that's gonna be a pain to deal with. And he has the support for it. I'm gonna want to see some more removal potentially. He's not super weak to hazards or anything, but like I would like to see that on a bulky team that's gonna be potentially worn down by spike stacking. But yeah, it's looking like a very difficult to beat team.
His team does struggle with really strong ground types if you can kill Gliscor, but killing Gliscor is not a very easy order.
That's easier said than done.
Yeah. Looking at this recap, some nice progress made with Ferret. I like picking up the big offense. I like also the Dormanitan right behind it. Couple of big offensive picks. I think Blake's team, the Denver Numbers, got a lot more dangerous. I think AZ's team got a lot more dangerous. I think Jelmer's team got a lot more dangerous. I think a lot of teams took a big step forward in this round.
Yeah, for sure. Once again, AZ's team is looking to be the most threatening, at least in my opinion. It's just such good synergy. I love the team. It's very similar to what I was going for last season, but
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of better executed. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how well he does. He does still need to pick up a dragon and a fairy though, so that might be where the draft starts to fall. But next up we've got Lorantis, so you can lead that one off.
Lurantis, it does bring you the contrary. It does bring you defog. And it's got a couple of nice little utility moves. It's good. I like the Leaf Storm coming in, getting the boost. I like bringing in the extra defogger. For me, it's not a mon that I've ever targeted, even in rounds 10, 11, and 12. So seeing it round 6, for me, I'm not sure. It doesn't work for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't really understand this pick so early, but I'm gonna say that it's probably because it's his only tier 4. Next up, we've got a Selgor, in my opinion, a much better tier 4 pick, a much more deserving of this kind of spot. It's just so fast and it offers spike stacking, which is really solid for any team to have, especially a team this offensive. You're definitely going to want to bring some good removal against this team because otherwise it will steamroll you. And yeah, just the extra speed tier, especially with like running specs or like max HP final gambit. Selgo is gonna definitely be able to pick up some surprise kills outside of its role as a spike stacker.
Yeah, Selgor is a really, really nice budget, speed, power, hazards. Um, it brings a lot of qualities that a tier 3 could bring for you. Moving on to Alolan Ninetales, I get what you're doing here. Okay, we're gonna bring in Aurora Veil. It's gonna make Staraptors Intimidate actually a decent physical wall. We're gonna help some of these other mons take a few hits. I like the idea. Is it enough? Absolutely not. Because what we've done is we've paired Bullet Punch, weakness in Lycanroc Dusk, with another Bullet Punch, weakness in Alolan Ninetales. Pick up a bulky water, pick up a bulky grass, and let's start moving forward here. Gonna need to mix in a ground type somewhere. I like the idea, but maybe a little too late for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure I even like the idea, honestly. I feel like Aurora Veil is just that bandage that's for like an axe in the head. I don't think it's really going to help with the bulk issue, and I would have liked to have seen some other types of hazards like sticky webs to really like try to make it so it's not getting hit. But next up we've got a Kyurem regular form, and this is going to be pretty disgusting if he manages to get some T spikes to support this, because we're already seeing 2 pressure store really fat Pokemon. We're seeing a pretty nice defensive core, but a lot of really good offense as well. Kyurem is really solid breaker to go with the Mega Gallade, obviously. Mega Gallade is doing a really good job of breaking a lot of the special walls that are giving Kyurem trouble, namely Chansey and Lissy. So I can see this being one of the top contenders for dealing with those prominently 2 fat teams that we have to deal with.
Right. So coming in for Vish, we've got Comfey in round 6. Comfey is a decent fairy type, U-turner. I like that we're bringing in a aromatherapy user. Helps with Slowking and Tangrowth longevity. Even Kangaskhan can benefit from that. Nice, of course, everybody knows the Calm Mind, Draining Kiss set. I like Comfey. It doesn't do a million things, but it does a few things pretty well. I think it's a good fit. He needs a fairy. I don't mind it. It's not my favorite mon. Round 6, though, it's kind of the area where I think Comfey would go. Next pick, though, a mon I do love, a mon I do use a lot. What do you think about Cofagrigus coming in?
I'm definitely a big fan of this. I was one of the biggest supporters for Kofag to move up to tier 3, general kind of range. I feel like it's just so fantastic because it's just so fat. It takes like so many hits. It's one of the few checks to a lot of those megas that are relying on their ability. Stuff like the Mega Medicham, the Mega Lopunny. It's going to really help with that fighting weakness that I was pointing out before. It does also add T-spikes to the team and it adds some nice trick room sweeping potential, which can definitely put in some work with the Metagross potentially as well. So yeah, I definitely really like this pick, especially for this team. But next up we have Aromatisse. What do you think about that one?
So Aromatisse is fairly infamous in the ASL for never dying, always causing people to rage, always being annoying, getting in the way of really big matches. So no shocker to bring Aromatisse in with Stakataka, ignoring every fighting type. Stakataka will ignore the steals. I think it's a great pairing. He's now got wish support for Zygarde, which I think is really important. Zygarde's bulky enough to run a bulk set, so throwing in wish support, I like that option. It's another Trick Room user. I enjoy this Aromatisse pick. Coming in now, you're going to have to talk good about it because this is probably my favorite Mon, maybe right there with Zapdos. Tell me about Bisharp for Hutch.
Yeah, don't worry. I am a massive fan of Bisharp. It's just so strong. Stab knockoff from like base 125 attack, Swords Dance. So good. The Defiant boost is going to be really huge, especially if he picks up some webs or some hazard stacks to go alongside. Sucker Punch nerf hurt it a little bit, but not as much as people seem to think it did. Sucker Punch from like a +2 boosted Bisharp is still going to do a lot. It doesn't have like the best bulk in the world, but it definitely has enough bulk to come in on a lot of hits. It can run the Assault Vest or the Chocolberry to really take those hits. So yeah, very solid Pokemon. I do hope he does get a secondary Steel type though, because otherwise he might run into some issues with fairies. But next up we see Tyrantrum.
You give me till this round recap. I'm gonna be talking about Bisharp some more. But Tyrantrum coming in here with Toxapex and Cineroar. I love the pick. I'm still waiting to see the webs pick, but we've still got the things that worked for Metacam, the slow U-turn, right? The extra walls to take hits also works for Tyrantrum. We have a week where maybe Metacam, he's got the right walls. We don't think Metacam can work. Tyrantrum's probably gonna work. So we've still got the slow U-turn. Now we've got the walls that can take hits. Now we're pairing it with another big breaker. So this is a pick to me where he says, you know what, I can't use Metacam this week. Tyrantrum now fits that role for me. I like the pick.
Yeah, he better pair it with something like a Swellix though, because like it's a really slow team. That's the only issue I'm starting to see there. But next up we see Demaster pick up the Diancie, and I'm a massive fan of this Pokemon as well. For a tier 4 Pokemon, it's such a good fairy type. Yes, its rock typing can be a pretty big hindrance, but at the same time, it's probably one of the best rock types at like taking on a lot of the types of moves that you want rock types to take. It's very consistent at setting up rocks. It can give him like some Trick Room Sweeper, some Rock Polish Sweeper. I'm a big fan of running the Rock Polish set in particular. And yeah, it's just a very consistent rocker to go alongside the Nidoqueen and the Mew. So definitely a big fan of that one. And if you don't mind, if I explain the Drapion, because you're going to see 3 poison types in a row here, I'm going to drop the Nidoking post-draft. That was a panic pick because I wanted Nidoqueen and then decided to replace it with Nidoking. That's not going to be there. So looking at it, this is going to give me T-Spikes, basically, and it's going to give me a nice and bulky Dark type. But I'll let you discuss that more.
How many seasons have you had Drapion in the ASL?
Only 2.
Only 2 so far, and I'm sure we're gonna make it 3 next year. This is a Mon that you come back to a lot. It does have a lot of utility. It's strong. It's faster than it should be. Powerful knockoff. Dark Stab is beautiful in this game. It gets EQ for some reason. It's a good Mon. But moving on, pick 82, round 6. We've got Delphox coming in. Delphox is so underrated. It's fast. It's powerful. It's actually a great Z move user. Grass Knot coming in there, I believe, or HP Grass at least. It takes on a lot of hits from fire types that you maybe wouldn't necessarily expect it to take. I've ran Assault Vest Delphox a few times. I like it. I think it brings a lot of versatility. I don't think it's a bad pick at all at this time. Good speed. He does have some rock weakness, and Polion can help with that. But I would like to see him get another. He got Serena, he's got Empoleon, but still with his rock weakness, I think we need another one to help. What do you think about Ditto though for Crispy?
Yeah, I like it. I'm not like in love with it necessarily because I do feel like he's already dedicated himself to bringing Milotic to deal with the setup sweepers, so he didn't really need Ditto because he wasn't like super weak to set up sweepers by itself. But Ditto's definitely a very solid Pokemon. It completely forces the opponent to completely rethink how they're going to prep a sweeper because they need to prep their sweeper to also not sweep themselves. So if your team is solidly built, then it's going to be incredibly difficult to create a sweeper that sweeps their team but doesn't sweep your team. So some ways you can do that is like run, protect, and scout for the choice scarf set, obviously. But yeah, it definitely is such a good blanket check. But next we see Blastoise.
Blastoise is a Gen 1 powerhouse. It is a lot of people's favorite starter of all time. It's nice, rapid spin. It's got, of course, rest talk. What's the move? Water spout, right? Scarf water spout. It does some nice defensive things, does some good offensive things. The thing I like the most about Blastoise on this team is it has a Sylveon that can come in, give it a wish. Blastoise can come take a hit, get a wish, come back in. The longevity of Blastoise is increased tenfold having a Sylveon there on the team with it. I like the Blastoise pick a lot better than the Gligar pick. I would have been fine seeing Blastoise come in a little bit earlier for that team.
Yeah, I honestly probably would have preferred something like Jellicent just for the more reliable recovery on such a like fat team. Personally, yes, it doesn't get the spin, so he'll need to get upper removal options. But once again, it's not the super hazard weak team. But yeah, impressions of these teams. Once again, I'm gonna keep on harping on this, but AZ's is just looking so scary. As soon as he gets his speed up, it's gonna be so ridiculous to deal with. But Hutch's is definitely really coming along as well now.
Right. You know, the thing I love about Bisharp, and I'm gonna get into my feelings a little bit here, but when you have such high attack and you have stab and you mix it in with pursuit, something like your random flying Tutmon or your random whatever it is that maybe not be weak to pursuit, but they don't want to swap out and take 50-60% from a pursuit. Even though it may not be a super effective hit, it's so strong that it causes a lot of fear from just, do I swap Rotom out here? Do I Volt Switch on his Bisharp? Because I can still take 60-70% from this pursuit.
Yeah, I agree. It's Pursuit is just such a fantastic move, regardless of whether it's hitting super effectively or not. Sometimes that chip is the deciding factor as to whether you can deal with a Pokemon or not. So it definitely does give him room to make some big plays, and he's looking very set to deal with offense. He might have a little bit of trouble with stall, but yeah, we'll see. But next up, we see a Scrafty from White Ferret. That's something that I'm sure Shadow is going to co-sign a lot because Celestial Scrafty is definitely a bread and butter for him. It's going to give him some nice Intimidate. It can give him a pretty decent setup sweeper with the Dragon Dance or more prominently the Bulk Up set. Stab Knockoff is going to hurt. Drain Punch is going to keep its longevity up, especially if it wants to run like an Assault Vest or something like that. And Rest Shed Skin's a very legit option. But yeah, it is going to be broken down fairly easily by a lot of the special attackers, regardless of its stats, just because 4 times weakness to Fairy sucks. But yeah, why don't you start talking Hitmonlee?
Yeah, Hitmonlee is strong. It's nice. It's a good Scarf user. It's a good, of course, with the Unburdened set. It's actually a decent spinner, Assault Vest user. I like Hitmonlee. It's a mono draft in the past. I've enjoyed using it. It's one mon that I think checks Diggersby pretty well. Nice to not have it on the board to have to face it. I like Hitmonlee. He's going kind of a little bit more offensive with Darmanitan and Hitmonlee. Still got the Diggersby. It's a pretty offensive team. Think he maybe needs to start pulling in some defense to help him as well, but I like the pick where it was. Rhyperior coming in next, pairing up with Delphox in the last 2 rounds. What do you think about Rhyperior?
It's definitely a very Susie Pokemon. Susie definitely loves drafting this Pokemon a lot, and you can see why. It's got a lot of really nice bulk, and while it does have some common 4x weakness, Solid Rock does do a really good job of helping that. And yeah, its monstrous attack stat is definitely a big selling point for this. It just comes in and absorbs a lot of moves, but it's gonna still deal the damage back, and that's definitely what you want from such a tanky Pokemon. And then it also offers like Rock support, Dragon Tail, or Raw support. It can set up Rock Polish weakness policy pretty effectively. So yeah, definitely a solid ground type.
So this is your pick, obviously, with Palossand coming in pick 88, round 7. You're replacing your ground type in Nidoking that you've already claimed that you expect to drop. So I like Palossand. I like what it does for your team. You're not really overly knockoff weak, although Torn doesn't like losing its item. You could be running a Z. Gobelion's happy to take knockoffs all day long. Drapion's taking knockoffs, so I don't have a problem with that. Palossand itself has some issues, but can be supported with slow growth. So I like the pick. Not my favorite mon all time, but it's a good mon. Bronzong is a mon that's a little bit more my style, my speed. What do you think about Bronzong?
Definitely very solid utility. It offers rocks, it offers dual screens, it offers Trick Room. Trick Room is something that's not necessarily the best strategy for his team, but it is something he could bust out. And despite looking like just this really passive Pokemon, if you've ever played Gen 4, you're going to know that this thing can hit like a truck. It's got a pretty nice attack stat. Gyro is going to be hitting hard. It can definitely spread those statuses.
Yep.
So if he gets like a nice Wish Passer, like Kangaskhan or something like that, then this is going to be looking really nice as a budget defensive core with the Diancie. Bronzong Diancie pairs really well together. But next we see Granbull from AZ.
Granbull has Intimidate. It does have some nice physical attacking stat. I don't love Granbull. He did need a fairy, so I see him pulling in the fairy type, making sure that that type is covered. I like that element of it, but now you've drafted 2 steel weaknesses in a row. You do have Toxapex there, which I appreciate, but I don't know that I love this pick. I like it. Seems like we're pretty physically based with Lando Pharaoh, Metacam, and Cineroar Tyrantrum. We're adding in another physical attacker. I don't know that I love it. But moving on to another physical attacker, a second steel type in a row that you was hoping for. Here's what you hope for in Steelix.
Yeah, Steelix definitely exactly the type of pick that I was looking to see from Hutch here. It's just so fat. It's going to be setting up rocks, roaring them out to get some nice shuffles, and it just pairs really well with Latias in particular. Latias takes care of pretty much everything that Steelix has trouble with, and vice versa. The only issue is, of course, that it doesn't have wish support, which he wanted Sylveon for, obviously. So that's got to sting even more hearing that now. But yeah, I definitely like Steelix a lot, especially as a tier 5 pick. It's definitely really good value.
Right, and I do think it pairs well because Bisharp isn't your traditional steel. Steelix is more your traditional steel type, and I like bringing that in right here. So now we're bringing in Mesprit. We've kind of taken the more budget route in your fairy and in our bulky psychic, but we didn't take a discount route. I want to make sure that's clear. We did take a cheaper pick, but not lesser quality. Mesprit's a fantastic psychic type, a great U-turner. Love Mesprit. Aromatisse bringing in Wish. Now you've got healing support as well. I don't think this is any lesser quality of a psychic than some of the maybe more expensive ones. I really enjoyed this pick for this team.
Yeah, I agree. It's like so ridiculously versatile for its tier. It's like really surprisingly strong and fast, so it can run that choice scarf and do some nice damage, and it just has so much versatility. Getting up rocks, setting up dual screens, and Trick Room for that stack attacker. I'm gonna be interesting to see how well he pulls off some Trick Room stack attacker shenanigans. And yeah, it's such a fantastic Pokemon. I'm somewhat surprised it lasted to round 7 and why people were hoping it would. But next up we see Pangoro. Very interesting Pokemon. I kind of like it. think it's a little bit better than Scrafty just because it hits a bit harder and has access to parting shot. That extra momentum that it gets over the Scrafty does put it a little bit over the edge over the Intimidate, in my opinion. But it is definitely very close. They share a lot of the same strengths and a lot of the same weaknesses. Both are very strong. Both are capable of dealing some big damage to some defensive teams with bulk up, and both are going to lose pretty hard to a lot of special attackers with any fairy coverage. So yeah, pretty straightforward.
Pangoro and Scrafty are both mons that benefit from the fact there's no HP fairy. But now we're bringing in Fortress, round 7, pick 94. Vish is picking up Fortress. He's pairing it with the Slow King, with the Tangrowth, with the Heatran. The guy, it's almost like he's building in fire type weaknesses, hoping someone will give Heatran a chance to get that boost. I like the additional support it brings with the rocks, with the spikes, with the spin. It's got the Volt Switch. Fortress as a mon, it deserves maybe round 7, 8, 9. It doesn't really deserve the upper rounds. But as we get on, this is the kind of mon that can make prep easier. You don't have to search for your answer for rocks. You don't have to search for your spikes. It's going to give it to you pretty easily. Next pick, we got Registeel. Registeel is always a mon that's performed well in the ASL. What do you think about it on this team?
Well, obviously you're going to want to see this bulky steel type on a team with like stuff like Kyurem, so I'm definitely pleased that he did opt to go for the Registeel. But I think it's going to be... wait, never mind, I read that wrong. I thought he only had 60 points left for some reason. But yeah, it offers a lot just because both of its defensive stats are so ridiculously high. It can set up the rocks really nicely. And yeah, just soak up so many hits that the Mandibuzz don't want to take, that the Suicune doesn't want to take, and spread some status, etc. But we see Tentacruel come out from Shadow.
So I think Shadow may be listening to this stream because last time I yelled at him and said draft a bulky water. Here's our bulky water. Tentacruel is a Gen 1 monster, knockoff, Scald. I love the poison type. I really enjoy this mon. Underrated. It doesn't have the highest special attack, but it's got decent speed for what it is. It's got a lot of versatility, I think. I think knockoffs just add a little bonus fun. I really enjoy Tentacruel, especially with the spinning, but just a good mon in general. But now you're up with Cryogonal.
Yeah, Cryogonal is definitely one of the most popular tier 5 Pokemon just because it's like such a fast mon with such high special defense. So it's going to be one of those more consistent spinners that you're going to be able to bring to a lot of games. And that's definitely something that's pretty rare, especially in the lower down picks. A lot of people are starting to really struggle to find their removal at this point, and they're definitely not going to be able to get anything for cheap. But I definitely love that he's got 2 spinners, so he never has to run Defog in this matchup. I'd definitely also like to see some way of actually threatening those types that want to spin block him, though, because as it stands, I could see him having issues with that. But other than that, it's definitely a solid pick.
So last pick of round 7, we've got Blaziken. I love Blaziken. I like mons that can both attack physically and special. It's a good Z user if he's willing to use it in that fashion. It brings him a little bit of offense to pair up with somewhat, I wouldn't say a passive team, but a bulkier team. Now he's bringing in some nice offense that can hit hard. I think it's a great mon to finish up round 7. I'm a big fan of this mon, and I think it definitely doesn't deserve certainly the Infernape status, but it brings some of the Infernape options much cheaper and later in the draft.
Yeah, it is definitely surprisingly good mix, so I do like the pick. So now looking at the drafts that are looking particularly scary at this point, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that Hutch should let me have his team, and I'll be happy to use it. I'm thinking that Dave's team has turned from a team that had some flaws to being one of the stronger teams. Picking up Aromatisse and Mesprit last 2 rounds really fixed a lot of the problems I had with this draft. I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of the Drapion. I like Palossand. Not sure how Palosand's going to perform in matchup. I'm excited to see if it can work. I don't really like the Grand Bull pick, which I said earlier. Definitely like the um, Pangoro coming in, parting shot to help maybe Beyonce get up a calm mind, something of that nature. So I like what teams are doing in these last 2 rounds.
Yeah, AZ's kind of disappointing me now. I'm gonna be honest. He hasn't picked up any speed, and he hasn't really started to pick up webs either. So yeah, that's definitely looking to be a little bit disappointing. But still should be very threatening.
Yep.
But next up we've got Mega Ampharos.
So Mega Ampharos is a mon that I used. I forget which season it was I used it in, but I last season I drafted Mega Ampharos hoping that I could have like a mold breaker monster, and it didn't perform the way I wanted it to. And I know part of that was because I personally didn't have the time I needed to prep, but also it just didn't meet my expectations. Have you? What about you? In your experience with Ampharos, have you had good success with it before?
Not really. I like it in the lower tiers, and I do like it as a budget Pokemon. But I'll also be honest, I haven't really drafted it in a serious league yet. The last time I drafted it, it was like pure offense, and I was hoping that Mega Ampharos would be kind of a little bit of an extra sponge, which it did not serve. But for this team, he doesn't need it to be defensive. It's going to be able to pivot in on some stuff and just hit hard. So I do quite like it on this team, especially for its price.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that, and I think it's going to give him some options that he didn't have, especially in the way of immediate offense. No setup needed here. I've got a big hit coming in quick, so I do appreciate that. But it's just a mon that I haven't had good experiences with in the past. A mon I have had good experiences with in the past and really love and think it's definitely underrated is Skuntank. What do you think about Skuntank from home?
Um, yeah, I definitely agree. It's like very versatile for its price for sure. I do prefer to have T-Spikes on my poison type, but that's not an issue for him because he does have the Acelgor. So yeah, this thing's going to be able to come in pretty nicely on a lot of the psychic types and ghost types. So this is definitely very solid for him. Like I said before, he's going to want to have a way of dealing with the spin blockers, and this is a pretty decent way of dealing with them. He can come in on them and pursuit them out or sucker punch them. Unfortunately, it doesn't get knockoff, which is going to hold it back as a dark type. So yeah, but defogs definitely always appreciated.
Yeah, it for sure is, and this is a mon that hits harder than people think it should. It can hit with the fire type moves that it gets for some reason, but definitely poison jab, sucker punch, crunch can do a lot of damage. Does bring some extra value. Defog's a really nice option. I'm a big fan of Skuntank, especially when you get around these round 8, 9, 10. I think Skuntank is worthy of a big pick.
So there's a bit of a hold up with the draft at the moment. Shadow is taking his time, unfortunately. So wish I could talk more about Skuntank. I really do, but there's really not that much else to talk about. Fairly average stats means that he's not going to be hitting super hard and not necessarily going to be lasting super long, I guess. But once again, that's not an issue for how offensive this team is. It really just kind of needs to come in at the opportune moments to deal with the fairies, to deal with the ghosts. So, yeah, I feel like the team really means that its flaws aren't really focused on, but its strengths are definitely amplified for sure.
Yeah, it fits, I think, pretty well on this team now. You're getting the poison type moves. You're getting a nice stab type with sucker punch, so you're getting a little bit of priority that you really kind of lacked with this team. Now Donphan does have Ice Shard, but that's not stab. Cryogonal has Ice Shard, but who's really wanting to click Ice Shard with Cryogonal? So I do like getting a little bit of priority. While we're waiting, Hutch, can you pull up the round by round view? Can you pull up the recap view? We're gonna work and see if we can get the recap view pulled up. briefly. Okay, here we go. So now we're taking a little bit of time. They're having some drafting issues on the server, but
Oh,
looks
he
like we're
just
moving.
picked. Good stuff. Glad to see that coming along. We see a Celebi from the looks of things, and this is definitely once again going to help with that bulk issue.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Celebi. Base 100 across the board stats is going to make it a really good versatile wall to just throw on. I can see it doing a lot of work with the Tentacruel, and it's not really going to lose the offensive momentum. I'm super glad that he is starting to draft some kind of bulk, because otherwise it was a really big issue. He's still going to struggle a lot with like Volt Turn momentum cores, because he doesn't swap into that at all still. So if he has some kind of nice way of punishing U-turn coming up, that'll definitely be appreciated. But the other big thing is that his offense doesn't have any webs or hazards to really help it out. So I don't see the offense being as threatening as you'd want for a draft that has such a little defensive backbone.
The thing I'll say in Shadow's favor, though, is that for me, Tentacruel and Celebi are a 4 and 5 round value at 7 and 8. And I think that's something to be noted. I definitely think Celebi is one of those mons that, in the right hands, it has some nice options with Swords Dance, base 100 attack. It can do some nice things with U-turn and defogging, get up rocks. Tentacruel, of course, is strong. It can take hits. It can rapid spin. It can be annoying. And those are qualities that you're going to see from a 4 and 5 round mon. Getting them in 7 and 8, I think, gives Shadow a little bit back of what he was missing a couple of rounds ago. So now he's starting to add in some options. Still a lot of work to go. Maybe an insurmountable amount of work to go. But Tentacruel, Celebi, Alola Ninetales, Staraptor, you can put together some a balanced team maybe with those options right there.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. But he only does have 320 points left, so it's going to be very difficult for him to really patch those holes.
Yeah, that's going to be true. Okay, so we're going to be skipping a pick for now, and then we're going to be coming up with Vish's pick. And Vish has a good team. Of course, we're not seeing his roster quite yet, but the team I enjoy.
So Vish picks up the Rhydon, which is basically budget Rhyperior. It doesn't have the same level of Spadef, but with an Eviolite, that bridge is going to be that gap is going to be bridged. Sorry, got my words a bit mixed up. It is 2:41 a.m. here. So yeah, that is definitely going to be really nice bulk for him. It's going to give him a nice flying resist for the Tang growth and stuff, and another rocker. So yeah.
Sure, and I do want to note we are seeing it on the previous pick. It was added at the bottom there. TJ was a little late on his pick, but was allowed to go ahead and pick and took Oxy. Oxy's a great mon, nice psychic type. A little expensive, but really strong. A lot of versatility. Stealth Rock U-turn. Doesn't die to any one hit from virtually anything. I think depending on how you run Oxy, certainly with the right berry, it doesn't die to even Zemu from Sharp. Oxy's really strong, hard to kill. Gonna bring him that extra bulk. And now we're moving on to Golbat from Milan. What do you think about Golbat coming in with this team?
I definitely like Golbat as a Pokemon, super bulky, which is pretty much the theme of this draft, honestly. A lot of bulky Pokemon being picked up, but Golbat is one of the better ones for such a nice low budget. The Eviolite just makes it so hard to kill. It doesn't have any like major weaknesses. Yes, Ice, Electric, and Psychic are pretty common types, but he does cover those fairly well. I would like to see him get something for Volt Beam coverage, though. But yeah.
So round 8, pick 105. Looks like Dave is picking up Gourgeist. He will have access to all the Gorgeist sizes. Gorgeist Super, I think the bulkiest one, usually is what we see used in Draft League. So Dave has done something really, really fun, something I personally love doing in my drafts. The last 3 rounds, Dave has went and he took discounted price mons that bring high priced value. Aromatisse, Mesprit, and now Gorgeist, another mon that it's a cheap mon, it's a late round mon, but brings similar value to your higher tier mons. Gorgeist is going to be hard to break. It's going to bring in Leech Seed, Will-O-Wisp, beautiful mon fitting on the roster. Moving on to another grass type. Now we see Hutch taking Virizion, second fighting type. What do you think of that pick?
I'm gonna assume that he was running low on grass types to get. I know that because I was running low on grass types back when I picked the Mungus. So it's definitely a very solid ground resist, and with both Zygarde forms being drafted, his Crobat and his Rotom Heat were not gonna cut it. He definitely gets run through by 1,000 arrows before he got Virizion. Now he doesn't have to worry about that so much. It does give him a pretty decent setup sweeper as well, which he didn't really have outside of the Bisharp before, and I guess the Latias as well.
Right.
But yeah, it does definitely give him a lot of nice stuff for the team. I don't think the weaknesses that it adds are too big of an issue. He's covered those quite well. So yeah, I don't really mind the fact that it's a double fighting.
I don't either, and I like that Verizion's adding to what is already the fastest team in the league. Now you've got another high-speed mon. Speaking of high-speed mons, here comes the electric dog himself, Jolteon, pairing with AZ. I would have rather seen Galvantula come in here, honestly.
Same.
But I do like Jolteon. It is strong. It is fast. It does have Volt Switch. It does have a lot of nice options, including the Volt Absorb, that have always made Jolteon a favorable pick. Jolteon paired with a Toxapex is like an extra boost. This is a step in the right direction after, in my opinion, a step in the wrong direction in round 7. I like Jolteon. I think it was the right pick, maybe a round too late, but it was still there for him, so he lucked out. Still think it should have been Galvantula, but a step in the right direction nonetheless.
Yeah.
But now you've got Hariyama coming in with the Bronzong, with the Deontay. What do you think about a late round Hariyama?
I'm definitely a fan of this Pokemon. The Thick Fat is going to make it really solid for taking a lot of hits that you wouldn't necessarily expect it to. It's got a monstrous HP stat with some pretty respectable defenses, and its attack stat is really crazy. It's going to be dealing some massive damage, so all the while that you're trying to kill this, it's going to be firing off close combats, bullet punches, etc. The only thing that really holds it back from a lot of the other fighting types that are in higher tiers is that lack of coverage.
Right.
But yeah, definitely a very solid Pokemon overall.
Hariyama gives coaches a tough problem in guessing between Guts and Thick Fat, and you won't know until something dies, usually.
Yeah.
But I do enjoy now we're coming back to your team. You've picked up Xatu. I really enjoy Xatu. It's a really kind of, you forget about it until it sweeps you. But, and it Calm Mind, Magic Guard, U-Turn, it has nice utility. Even having Defog to go with your Magic Bounce. I like Xatu. I think it's a good value. It's about the right time for a Xatu pick. It's also a cheap mon, preserving some extra points for maybe a late round, more expensive mon. I think it comes at the right time. It's not your primary psychic, which is really important because Xatu should never be anyone's primary psychic, but it does bring in a lot of nice options at this point in the draft. Speaking of power mons, we now see a power mon round 8. We're seeing a Dragalge. How is it that Dragalge is here at round 8?
Honestly, tough to say. It definitely offers a lot with the T-Spike support, the adaptability, boosted Draco Meteors, and Sludge Wave, so that you're not going to be able to answer this with the fairies. Just very solid. It is, of course, extremely slow, which does suck for it. But he has the nice momentum grabbers with Coco Serena to get it in. Dragalge is, of course, another prime answer for Coco, and this is just looking similar to your draft from last season as well, honestly. But he's getting these picks in pretty late, which is definitely surprising to see.
we're sharing the Coco, the Mamoswine, the Empoleon, the Delphox, the Dragalge. I like that he's bringing the Dragalge. I thought it worked for me last time. I think it's going to work for him this time.
But next we see an Avalugg.
Yeah, Avalug's not a mon I have a lot of experience with. I know it's rapid spin, it's a physical wall, but it's not a mon I've used a lot myself. Have you had a lot of experiences with it?
Not really. I know that it's been recently doing a really good job on some stall teams. And this is because its monstrous defensive stat and its access to reliable recovery is definitely giving it a lot of nice niche roles. Ice typing is, of course, terrible defensive typing unless you're facing stuff like Huron Black. So it does have its niche, and I'm sure that's what he does want it for, that niche spinner that deals with some problematic Pokemon.
Yeah. Now we've got Claydol coming in last pick, 8th round. Claydol is a mon that if you did not watch the ASL off season, shame on you. And Claydol had a couple of nice performances there. I think there was a scarf sweep showing the ASL that, hey, maybe Claydol isn't complete trash. Decent pick. Nice ground. I like that it's not his only ground. I don't mind if you're going to double up on typing. Not a bad typing to double up on in ground type.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Ground typing's probably the best type in the league, or at least like top 3, in my opinion. But yeah, looking at how things are going, did TCP get skipped, or is his pick just not updated there?
I don't think he got skipped. Did TCP?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Short-term memory loss. Age is getting to us, clearly. But yeah, I am definitely liking where Ferret's team is going. Well, maybe liking's not the right word. Appreciating,
sure,
I guess, is probably the right word. It definitely looks very difficult to beat, and he does have some nice threats to back it up. Claydol is obviously going to be that budget bring that does so much more work with Sylveon behind it. But outside of that, I think Hutch has probably improved the most this round.
Yeah, I like AZ took a step in the right direction after having stepped in the wrong direction. I'll also say this. There's something to be said for comfort in drafts. And Milan taking Golbat, taking some of these other mons, these are a lot of his hallmarks. If you've played against Milan very many times, you've seen him use most of these mons. So I like him picking up something he's used to, something he knows will work for him. I think it was a good pick. Also picking up Uxie to help Glade. Glade doesn't need to be your only psychic type. I like that as well. Tell us about X-Cloud in round 9. That's a breaker if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be fantastic for him. He doesn't have the type of momentum that you would want to see with X-Cloud, and he doesn't have like the webs or speed boost that you would want to see with an X-Cloud, but it doesn't really matter too much because you're going to be able to force a lot of swaps just from annoying people. You're going to be pressuring people into making doubles and unnecessary plays to try to get something started versus your bulk. And that's when you can bring in your X-Cloud and claim kills with Boom Burst. It's so ridiculously strong. Nothing swaps into a Boom Burst from Specs X-Cloud. And its bulk isn't even too bad, so it can run some other things too if it wants. But why don't you talk about Florges?
Florges is a mon that has no business being around in round 9. Florges is more of a round 5, maybe around 6, maybe reaching down in round 4. No business being around in round 9. It's a great mon, great wish passer, pairs really well with Latios. I'm a big fan of Florges. I think at round 9, Florges is good in round 5. Florges is amazing in round 9. I like the mon, but I love the value. That's fine. That's fine. I think one thing that TCP, and unless I'm just missing it, at this point I'd like to trade that Ditto out and bring in a really nice steel type. But I still think he needs to go in find a quality steel type that he can rely on, which is going to be tough in these late rounds. But he does have some points left, but he's missing that nice steel type.
Yeah, I agree. It's very surprising to see him not have that steel type. Alright, so next pick should be coming in like 3, 2, 1 now. We see the Beware come in. This is such a nice and strong Pokemon. I'll pass that over to you to talk about. I need to make my pick real quick.
Sure, I like Beware. I like what it brings. It's a lot of power. It's good stabs. I don't know how I feel about Rhyperior, really slow. Gouge, really slow. Beware, really slow. I do know you got speed there in Coco. I see that. I'm not defiant to that. Delphox is there. It's pretty fast. Pinsir's there. It's pretty fast. But you drop those 3, your speed tiers are a little wonky here. But I do like Beware on its own. I do like Gouge on its own. But I do think that Spider's going to have to work on his speed tiers in these next 3 picks.
Yeah, for sure. There's such a major jump from Coco to Pinsir, and then another major jump from Pinsir to Mamoswine. I guess Delphox is in there too, but that's the same speed tier. But next up, we have a Bouffalant from me. Definitely very early for the Bouffalant, but that's because I'm guaranteed my last 2 picks from the top tiers anyway. So I figure might as well get my bottom 2 tier picks. And Bouffalant is very slept on for a normal type. It's in the lowest tier, but it's got a really nice attack stat. It's got Sap Sipper, so it can come in on some grass moves, just hit hard. It's like a budget Tauros. It doesn't have the same level of coverage or power, but it is that kind of Pokemon that you can just sometimes bring in and just click normal moves and do a lot of damage. I don't think anyone's expecting the tier 6s to come very often, if at all. But I think Bouffalant is one of the few that could potentially make it in.
People easily forget Bouffalant has 95 HP, 95 defense, 95 Spadef. So it's the kind of Mon that it comes as a normal. You're expecting the big hit, you're expecting the big power, but it also takes a hit. You're not going to OHKO it unless you have a strong fighting type stab. It's going to take a hit. It's going to give off a big hit. And that's one of the key values in Bouffalant, I think. But now we're coming in much more of a known pick, a normal pick. We've got Heliolisk coming in. Round 9, pick 117, Heliolisk. I like it. I like the Volt Switch. I like the normal stab. I like that it's taking in Scalds to kind of protect Kyurem from maybe a potential burn. Taking in Scalds to help Nidoqueen. The good Mon, good Volt Switch. I think it gets U-turn as well. Hyper Voice user. It's a good pick. I think it fits well synergistically. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's always great to have a nice and strong normal type spamming Hyper Voice and electric type to pivot in. But speaking of really nice normal types, we see Miltank here, just adding to his defensive core. And it also gives him another rocker. It can spread some status, and it's just a really nice Spadef wall, especially with Thick Fat with Sap Sipper as well. It's just so versatile as a Pokemon. Once again, though, we're not seeing the speed, we're not seeing the support for his offense. We're seeing a lot of bulk, and we're seeing a lot of offense that relies on taking the hit before it deals some damage. So yeah, I'd like to see some more support there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
Miss Magius.
Next pick is definitely going to be a pick that has a lot of value for round 9. Miss Magius is strong. It goes off nice special attack hits. It's got the Willow. It's got some of the normal tricks that your ghost types come with, but it's a good budget speed power Mon. It's not going to swap into much. You're not swapping in Miss Magius to a lot of things, but it does come in. It takes maybe a Mach Punch that Lockney would have potentially died to. It gives off some big hits. It has your Hex options. I like Miss Magius, and I like it in round 9. I think it's a good pick. I think it's the right time for it.
Yeah, I agree. The only issue that I see with this Magius is the lack of Z moves potentially. But next up, we see the Persian coming out from Dave, who originally thought he wasn't even going to be able to finish the draft. He didn't even see tier 6s were a thing. Just wanted to quickly roast him on that. But Persian A is such a fantastic pivot Pokemon. Parting Shot is so good. It gets that fur coat, so it's going to be taking a lot of moves that you wouldn't expect from this little cat. Dark typing is going to pivot in on a lot of stuff quite nicely. And it's going to bait in some really good stuff for the Mega Pidgeot to take advantage of. It also gets Torn and Toxic, so it'd be a pretty good stall breaker. And if he does want to make this thing a Z user, which I'm not sure he will, he does get the Z Parting Shot to give a Healing Wish off.
Yeah, I agree. So round 9, pick 121. The Mon I've been calling for, not the team I've been calling to get it, Galvantula. A great option here. Garchomp's going to love having Galvantula because it puts some investment in other places. Beyonce, same thing. Even Metagross. Now, Choice Band and Metagross just became something people are going to have to worry about. Galvantula in and of itself, nice electric type, cheap. I think 100 points for a Mon that brings you webs and powerful electric move. And round 9, I think that's a round 6 Mon that just went in round 9. The next up,
Yeah,
I used in the season 1 finals game. What do you think about Electabuzz?
I like it, but I did use it last season, and I can say, unlike a lot of electric types, it's not going to be one that's going to be able to come to as many games. It doesn't have the same level of coverage that a lot of Pokemon have. At least the electric types. It does have the option to run the mixed sets with stuff like Flamethrower, Volt Switch, but it doesn't have all the same stuff. It feels like it's lacking in every
Can I place an order?
But the Eviolite is definitely going to be very handy for it. You might want to mute yourself, Brad. But next we have a Sandslash coming out from TJ. This is very much the budget kind of Donphan pick. It's going to give him Rocks and Spin in one Pokemon. Roll Compression isn't like super good, but it is at least a nice thing to have if you really need it. If you just really need to have both Rocks and removal in that last Pokemon. I don't think it's going to be a massive issue for him. And I'm not a massive fan of the fact that this is his ground type. It feels a little bit low tier, but he didn't really have any other great options left at the very least. So I definitely understand the reasoning behind it. Obviously, Rocks and Spin is going to still be a nice niche for it to have, though. And next up, we see a Linoon come out from Shadow, but that's going to be traded away for the Nidoking. So just pretend he drafted Nidoking here. That's going to give him a very good ground type that he definitely desperately needed. Nidoking is such a fantastic wall breaker, such good coverage options, and it does have that extra utility of being able to set up the Rocks and the T-Spikes for his team. Sash lead Nidoking is something that's definitely going to be on someone's mind, and just having an extra pivot is nice. But next we see Rotom come out from Malone, and I love Rotom. It doesn't have as good of a stat pool as the other Rotoms do, but the electric ghost typing is so nice. It spin blocks, it defogs, does all the same things that all the other Rotoms do. Dual screens is really nice on it. Volt switch is really nice on it. I think it's probably the best budget electric type you can hope for. It just does so much. It comes to way more games than you would expect of a tier 5.
I'll go ahead and jump in here while Brad is muted. The next pick will be up soon. And I'll go ahead and talk about it. Let me know when it's on stream.
All right, sorry for that.
So we have Tauros.
All right, go for it.
Tauros, sorry, I just got back. Tauros is a great normal type, especially around 9. Fast, stronger than people expect it to be. Body slam's nice. Rock climb is usually preferred, so you can get the sheer force boost. But a good mon, good speed, good price. I like it, especially around 9. Gives him a little bit of speed that maybe Greninja is going to appreciate. Helps him break that 100 speed tier.
So we see the recap here. TCB still doesn't have his Avalug on the thing. So currently the teams that are looking really threatening, I'm honestly gonna say that I'm really liking Hutches more and more, and I'm also really liking Days more and more. Both of which got some really nice picks. The Miss Magius is going to be a really solid special sweeping option, gives him a nice speed tier, which is great for his team. And the Persian is just going to be such a nice pivot to rock with the Rotom Wash to get in a lot of big threats. So it's going to be very interesting to see how those rank.
Yeah, and I'll say, even though I wasn't calling for Galvantula to be picked for Milan's team, looking at that team, that was a great option for Milan. I think Galvantula is going to come in, solve a couple of problems. Really big fan of it. Also, Xcloud. Xcloud, and I know I keep, but Sylveon's the kind of mon that you can do this with. But now it's another wish receiver. Throw on an Assault Vest on Xcloud, give it a wish. That thing can be a problem for people. Talk to me about Quagsire. Round 10, Unaware Mon. What do you think?
It's definitely really nice for him to pick this up so that he doesn't have to feel forced to bring Unaware Clef. That's also really good because Unaware Clef is something that will get taken advantage of by Z moves a lot. Just because you're ignoring the stat boost doesn't mean you're not going to drop to a Steelium Z from a Zygarde Iron Tail or something like that. So the fact that he doesn't have to run the Unaware on Clef and the fact that he doesn't have to worry so much about Z moves sweeping him is definitely a really nice pick. And it also does give him a nice extra ground type and an extra water type, which is always appreciated.
So round 10, Malone picks up Magmortar. This is a mon that has seen a lot of success in the ASL. I just used it in the off season, and then I think it made 3 appearances for me and got 8 kills. It's a mon that gets belly drum for no reason. It has priority Mach Punch, really strong special attack, really powerful. Specs Fire Blast from Magmortar is to be feared by almost anything out there. He needed a good option to deal big special hits, and I think this was a good one to pick up. Next, we have Druddigon. Earlier, you had talked about potentially giving someone something to fear from U-turn. What do you think about Druddigon as that answer?
I definitely like Druddigon just as a Pokemon. It gives him that kind of safety net. For sure, it's always good to have that Dragon type Pokemon. And it has a lot of versatility with the rocks, sheer force boosted attacks. And the phasing is going to give him a really nice kind of backbone to fall onto. And at this point, he's got to take what he can get as far as defensive backbones to fall onto.
Yeah. So next pick, round 10, Audino. This is normal Audino, so he will not pick up the fairy typing. I like Audino, has the regenerator. It is an annoying, bulky normal. Does a lot of the annoying bulky normal stuff. It fits well with Suicune. It actually fits pretty well with Kyurem and even Registeel. It's going to be hard to kill. It's going to be annoying. I don't see it coming to a lot of games, maybe. But it's a decent mon. I get where he's going with it. It's okay. What about Passamon? Great, strong, powerful attack U-turner. Good choice, Scarfer. What do you think here?
I think that the fact that this is tier 6 was a blatant oversight. This thing does not belong in tier 6. I've seen it in tier 4 in some leagues. Should definitely be at least tier 5. It's such a good fighting type. It's got a really nice speed tier and attack stat. It got a lot of momentum, pretty decent coverage, spamming close combat. It's really nice. It doesn't get Defiant yet, so it's not going to be doing that, but it just is like such a great Pokemon for its price for sure.
Yeah, so coming in next pick for Milan is taking Perugly. Fast Mon, normal type. It's a Mon that you don't see a lot, certainly. But base 82 attack isn't that high, and that's probably the reason that you don't see it a lot. But it has thick fat, it has Defiant, 112 speed, so you come in on a defog, get a Defiant boost. Perugly can do some work, but definitely not your premier uh, normal types. But Tauros is gone, even Buffon's gone, but not a bad option for you. A Mon that can counter that Perugly with Mach Punch coming in with Hitmonchan. What do you think about Hitmonchan for days?
Yeah, Hitmonchan is probably the worst of the Hitmons, but that's not really a bad thing because all the Hitmons are really nice, offer a lot of good utility for a budget, great spinners, pretty strong overall. Not like going to be massive threats, but we've seen stuff like Bulk Up Hitmonchan do a lot of work in the past. So I would not be surprised to see something like that happen again. He definitely would have been going for this just for the removal because as it stands, his removal is that Rotom Wash and Mega Pidgeot. So yeah, definitely like a pick for that.
Yep. Next coming in is Kabutops. Round 10 Kabutops. Kabutops is a Mon that I've used before. No Swift Swim needed, just Kabutops. Very good, strong attacker. Stab, Stone Edge does a ton to everything that isn't resisting it. It's really powerful. It can set up. I wish he had a little bit of Swift Swim options. Maybe a priority Rain Dance user, but I do like Kabutops. I do think it's a solid Mon. Gonna help him get rocks up, gonna help him spin, gonna create some big, powerful hits. It's a good Mon.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Definitely very versatile in that sense and very strong.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you talk about Scyther, though? Scyther's another good Mon Eviolite user. What do you think?
I love Scyther, but it's just so hard to fit onto a team. I definitely like it here though. It gives a nice speed tier for the team. The U-turn is great. He does have some pretty solid removal, and his hazard stack presence is super strong, so it's going to be difficult to get hazards on this to really limit its potential. But it's actually so ridiculously bulky with the Eviolite. You don't understand. It gets Roost as well. It's going to be taking hits really well. Even with the rocks up, it's going to be able to do a lot of work. Technician boosted, Aerial Ace and Bug Bite hits super hard with the Sword Stance. U-turn from Stab is always going to be great. Just get some more momentum in. Such a great Mon, and I really like how it fits on his team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Next pick, we have Ariados. Certainly not a Mon that we're accustomed to seeing in Draft League, but when you're looking into round 6 and or tier 6, you're looking at options and you see a Sticky Web user, a Poison Jab user, a Mega Horn user. I don't think Arios is a bad pick. It's not a Mon that's going to come often, maybe, but comes in, gets up the webs to help maybe a Nidoqueen, help maybe a Kyurem Black, maybe lets Gyarados get off a big hit without needing the Dragon Dance. I'm a fan of it. I like the pick. I think it's for what it is, for a tier 6 pick. It's not a bad option.
Yeah, I agree. Webs is just always so nice to have.
Yeah. It just provides an option, and when you throw out webs, all of a sudden Nidoqueen went from good to great. Kyurem went from dangerous to panic when you throw out those webs.
Speaking of webs, I picked up a fan favorite of mine, Swirlix. I draft Swirlix in so many drafts. It's just that tier 5 Pokemon that gives you webs, or tier 6 in this case, because we have that. It's just so nice for that. It's, in my opinion, the best bottom tier Weber, because it gets that unburdened. So if you pop the Sash or if you pop the Citrus Berry, depending on what you want to run, you get that nice unburden boosted Toxic or unburden boosted Endeavor. Once again, it's not a Pokemon that's going to come very often, but as far as like web setting is concerned, there's not really much of like a technical difference between that or Leavanny or Ariados or any of the other low tiers. So I just like getting the really budget version.
Yeah, it's a good mon. But moving on to another good mon, Malamar. I like Malamar with the contrary, the superpower. Everybody's seen this. Sets up Trick Room, gets off a superpower, starts throwing off knockoffs and psycho cuts. I think it's a mon that works. I also like, even though he did add another slow mon, he finally added a good Trick Room option. So now he can bring in Malamar, get off a Trick Room, get off a knockoff, die, bring in Dragouge, bring in Raperior. It brings him a little bit more options that he was definitely needing to fit onto his team for sure. So I don't think that was a bad pick.
Yeah, so the next pick should be coming up soon. I definitely agree on the Malamar point. But yeah, we see a Crustle come out next, and Crustle's a really solid spike option, for sure, and also rocks. It does get weak armor, I believe, which is going to be able to let it set up even more. It's also a great shell smasher with sturdy. It's not necessarily going to be sweeping, but you can get up your rocks or your spikes and then set up a shell smash and start putting some pressure on immediately. Start forcing them to kill you rather than trying to dig around and spin away your hazards. So yeah, definitely very solid pick overall.
And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but we saw a Crustle sweep recently in the ASL, didn't we?
I don't recall.
I believe we did. Yeah, I remember seeing a nice Crustle sweep. Either way, moving on to a mon with sweeping potential, Vikavolt coming in for Ferret. Vikavolt's a huge special attacker, electric type that has levitate, always a beautiful mon. He did pick up 2 big special attackers in a row. They probably don't serve a similar role, maybe, but 2 kind of big powerhouse special attackers. I do like that. I do think he is kind of tipping the scale toward a specially based team. Maybe needs to pick up physical attackers with the rest of his picks, but I like Vikavolt. So looking at this tier, you definitely see people are starting to pick up some of the lower mons, but I do look at Magmortar, Druddigon, Passimon as some of the mons that low tier, high value. I like those 3 picks in particular out of this round for the teams that got them.
Yeah, so I really like the Scyther pick the most personally. Getting that extra nice speed tier to come up really normalizes the speed tiers a lot more. Hopefully we'll see another Pokemon in the base 110 kind of range to help him out, or some budget webs like Cutiefly or something. But yeah, definitely shaping up to be a scary draft once again. And the teams that are drafting webs also definitely got some solid picks in.
Yep, I tend to agree. I will say it's nice for TJ. Of course, he's got that Garbodor already there, so he's safe and secure on his late round, having a nice late round power there with Garbodor already hanging out.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't talked about Garbodor, so we might as well do. Never mind. Pick comes in anyway. We see a Klinklang come out. I'm quite a big fan of Klinklang. Even though it's pretty bad, it's honestly super good as well. It has terrible coverage, unfortunately, which is what holds it back so far. But it does get shift gear. It has pretty decent bulk, so sub shift gears are definitely a very threatening set with leftovers. Return plus shift gear hits most everything, except for the steals, obviously, and wild charge is going to hit a lot of steals pretty well anyway. So as long as you can do a good job of dealing with the steals, or if they don't have great steals, then Klinklang can definitely put in a lot of work. And it's probably not going to be something that's going to come very often, but it's also going to be something that the opponent won't prep for very well, which means that when it does come, it's likely going to put in a lot of work.
You know, the thing about Kling Kling is it's one of, if not the only mons in the entire game that gets Trick Room plus Momentum. So get up a Trick Room, Volt Switch out, bring in Choice Specs X-Cloud. So I like that Kling Kling brings in some really nice options for Ferret that he maybe was missing before. Just waiting on the next pick here. We're starting to get to these mons that I think people often overlook, but some of these mons, you watch in the later, you watch the weekly recaps, you're going to see some of these mons be the key to victory. A mon like that, Magneton, Magnet Pool, Choice Scarf is going to kill something this season. It always does. Magneton's strong, nice Volt Switch, Flash Cannon user. I like the momentum pick kind of later in the draft. Now you're adding more momentum with Diggersby, Manitan, adding in another momentum option. Magneton's a decent Eviolite user, but I prefer to use it more with your Choice Scarf or maybe Specs or something of that nature.
Yeah, for sure. The Magneton's very solid overall. It's very strong. Doesn't have the best bulk, but it is usable with the Eviolite if he really needs like a flying resist or something like that. But yeah, the Magnet Pool with the Mega Latios is definitely going to come in handy a lot because Steel types aren't going to stay in on the Darmanitan. That's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But we see a Misdreavus come out next. Misdreavus is a really annoying Pokemon if you play like PU. It's got fairly like bad-ish stats, 50, 50, 50, then 85, 85, 85. But with Eviolite, it's definitely got some very solid bulk. As it goes type, it's going to be fast enough to get some fast taunts off on stall. It's going to be able to Will-O-Wisp things, Toxic things, Pain Split around, great spin blocker, and it's then just going to be able to get a Destiny Bond kill or get some Hex damage up. It's definitely one of those solid Pokemon in the right matchup.
So next pick was from you for the Ozzy King Cons, and I always enjoy doing this. You've got kind of some middle round mons that you like. You know you can spend maybe some points, then grab those, come back later, pick up something really good. This is an example of saving your points, getting a tier 2, or excuse me, a round 2 or round 3 value, round 11 or 12. Raichu's fast, Raichu's strong, it's bulkier than you expect. It's got the Calm Mind, takes big hits. I'm a big fan of Raichu, something I've used a lot, and I'm a big supporter of it. I think it's a great value. I think it's a great value in round 3. So picking up late, definitely worth it. Or Corico, what do you think about that for the Master and then Renomals?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm quite a fan of Oricorio. Its speed tier, if it was just 3 points higher or something, it would be a lot better. But all the forms is quite nice. You can definitely do a lot in the matchup. The Ghost type is probably my favorite form overall, just because spamming strong Ghost moves is always good, and having it be a tier 5 option for that with a nice Calm Mind is always good. Flying Spam is also fantastic as usual, and if he wants to run like Z-Move, I highly doubt he'll put Z-Move on this, but if he does. Anyway, we see Cutie Fly, the exact pick that I predicted from AZ. The one that we've been calling for since round 7.
Yeah.
See Cutie Fly. Let's go.
Yeah. I like that he did finally pick up Sticky Webs. I wish that we could erase that Grand Bull pick and pick up a premium webs user that does more for him than just put up webs and then die. But he did finally plug it in. Sticky Webs makes things like Metacam, things like Lando T, go from top level threats to almost unbeatable threats. Adding in something like Q5 is a big deal when it comes to team building. A mon that I really actually like. I know it's got the rock sweetness, but what do you think about Masquerain coming in here?
It's the better web user. It is a tier higher, and this is the type of thing that we would have liked to see over the Grand Bull. I understand the Grand Bull pick though, but talking about the Masquerain, that's going to be really solid for the Bishop. This is the type of thing that I was saying. Having sticky web support with Bishop is so crucial because you bring Bishop in and outspeed everything all of a sudden, and it's much harder to deal with. A lot of people's game plan for dealing with Bishop is outplaying Sucker Punches, but Masquerain means that it's much harder to do so. And Bishop also scares them from defogging away your web. So the web support is going to be super nice for the Bishop. And then it's also going to be nice for stuff like Latias and Primarina and stuff. But the Bishop and web support is really the king there.
So, round 11, I know we're digging deep here. I know we're running low on your op, but a Swalot is still a mon I did not expect to see, even though I knew we'd be digging deep here. Its speed is 55, defense 83, SPDF 83, HP 100. Decent, takes a couple of hits. It's not going to do just a lot else for me. What are you seeing from this Swalot pick?
Well, I get that he did want the poison type at some point, and Swalot is probably the best bulky poison type that he could have had in the tier 6, but I also would have preferred to see a much worse poison type that had access to T-Spikes, because T-Spikes is like half the reason why you want your poison type, the other half of the reason is to absorb T-Spikes, I feel. So if Swalot only really does like one of those things, and he doesn't really need it for its defensive thing, I don't really get the pick. But we see a Monferno come out.
Yes, this is a mon I think that you would definitely maybe be a little more supportive of than the last pick. Monferno brings some powerful options with U-turn, Mach Punch. It's not a mon to be slept on.
Yeah, for sure. This was on my original plan. It gets that nice suicide lead option with like rocks, fake out, taunt type of deal. It can not put on a lot of damage, but enough damage to like threaten some offense. Eviolite with Slack Off is fairly bulky even. Once again, it's not a great pick, but you're not expecting great picks from there.
Now, I will say what is a great pick from tier 6. I like Volibee. I'm a big fan. You get discount U-turn, discount defog, and it also has knockoff. So that, I mean, right there's 3 of the options that you're looking for in high tier picks. It can take a hit. I like this at this point. I think it's a good pick.
I agree. I feel like Volibee and Persimmon were probably the 2 best tier 6 Pokemon. So Vish getting both of them we see here, and we see TJ pick up the Archeops. I'm a huge fan of this Pokemon. It gives him a nice speed tier to go off of. It's a fantastic suicide lead with the Rocks Endeavor. Good speed, as I said before. It's super strong too. It's going to be quite effective at just spamming Stone Edge, Acrobatics, etc. Its move pool is kind of limited, but stuff like Taunt, etc. It's just like really got what it does do, it does well.
Yeah, and having just Tailwind options, Tailwind for maybe a Suicune or Tailwind for Kyurem, I think that's also a nice thing to throw in there, kind of for a back end pick. All right, moving on, we've got Girder. What do you think about Girder this late?
I'm not sure really. It's an interesting one. It does have some nice bulk to it. I think he might have taken that a little bit too much to heart. I do wish that if he was going to draft such an offensive draft rather than slap on some like kind of bad bulk, he would have slapped on some better offense.
Sure.
Some stuff that actually supported the team with like webs or something, but that could be his round 12 for all we know. We'll have to see.
Sure.
I just don't really see what Gerda is supposed to accomplish for the team is the only issue. But we see Lickitung come in next.
Lickitung obviously is going to bring decent bulk. It's going to be your nice Eviolite user most of the time. Mostly, it's just going to sit there and it's going to wag its tongue. It's going to be annoying. People are going to not like it being in the way. It's going to stay in the way a long time. Most of its abilities aren't that useful and own tempo and oblivious. But it does some of the similar things that Licky Licky does, not as well, but it does Wish Pass. It does get kind of a niche Icy Wind in case you're looking to maybe slow things down on your swap out. It does get Heal Bell. So it does some things that can help your team, but it's a low tier pick.
Yeah. And from Gran, we see Chimecho here, another one of those low tier picks. It's a pretty decent support Pokemon, I guess. I think it gets Heal Bell, Healing Wish. I don't think it gets the wishes though. Pretty sure it gets dual screens as well. Oh, apparently it gets Defog. That's quite nice. It gets Knockoff as well. Magic Coat, Recover. It's got some pretty decent options actually overall. Its stats aren't necessarily the best, but it's passable.
Yeah, I like it. This round we saw a lot of lower tier mons going. We do see the Raikou that definitely doesn't belong, but we see
Yeah,
some
it's a
of
little
the
bit better.
mons. I do like the Volibee pick. I like the Monferno pick. Masquerade's a really nice pick to slate. Magneton's another good pick to slate. But yeah, if we're looking at this group, somebody saved their points. It's pretty easy to tell who.
Yeah, so like the fact that I don't think my draft or the other drafts that have a decent amount of points left necessarily stand out too much as weaker, and they don't even have their final picks yet. So I think that is going to be telling. We'll see if that does end up like meaning that they will be the better drafts in the end. Tough to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe we should be getting into the next pick very soon.
Sure.
All right.
While we have time, let's go ahead and talk about Garbodor.
All right. So Garbodor is put in a lot of work for TJ in the playoffs, especially. It was able to solo a lot of Hutch's team with its bulk, especially, and it offers dual hazards as well, which is a fantastic option to have suppressed onto one Pokemon. Not having to put run spikes and T spikes separately is great. You can just throw them both up at the same time. And having T spikes for the Suicune is just fantastic. But we see the Bastiodon come out.
Wow, Bastiodon's a mon. It's going to get up some rocks. It has a few offensive options, but it's not a mon that I'm trying to think if I've ever seen it in Draft League before, and I just don't. I don't know that I have. Certainly, it has sturdy. It's going to make sure that you get off those rocks. It definitely has Metal Burst, which is a sound we don't see, or a move we don't see a lot. But if you're hit by an attack, it returns damage by half, more than half. So I like that option. But the big holdback with Bastiodon is, of course, 52 attack, 47 special attack. Gonna struggle to get off hits. But a mon that won't struggle to get off hits at all is Mega Slowbro. What do you think about Mega Slowbro coming in here?
It's good for nice bulky water type that he definitely was lacking throughout this draft. It also gives him that bulky psychic type that he was needing, and some regenerator before he mega evolves is always nice to have as well. It's not even necessarily too passive. It does have some pretty nice special attack stats with Calm Mind boosts. This is definitely quite a Malone pick. It kind of is filling the void of Cresselia, but I think it's much better than Cresselia. I'm glad that he has drafted it. I think it fits his team quite well.
Yeah, so moving on to the next pick, we've got Alolan Sandslash. Alolan Sandslash is really nice. Really nice mon. Strong. He pairs with Alolan 9. I think it's a good pick. I think it's a nice pick at this point. He is going to really struggle with anybody that has a strong fighting type and Mach Punch. But it's a decent pick that gives him another option, and he's going to need options.
Yeah, for sure. He doesn't have Hail to go alongside it, which is going to be a little bit unfortunate.
He's got a Lola Ninetales.
Never mind, I'm blind. I'm completely blind. In that case, this pick makes complete sense.
Yeah, it makes a little more sense with that. We've already covered Garbodor pretty well.
Yeah, so I can probably just skip ahead on that.
But I don't mind your Alolan Sandslash pick. Also like Garbodor, but I also love Gyarados. This is one of my favorite mons. This is a mon that I've been using since Gen 1. It's a mon that I think found a new life when Z moves came out, and now it can use Z Fly. I think it's a mon that deserves all the love and attention. I think it's a great pick, especially low round. Intimidate user is fantastic. What do you think about Gyarados?
I love this Pokemon as well. It's with Intimidate, it's super bulky. With the water and flying, giving it some nice resists. The Electric is gonna be covered quite well by stuff like the Tangrowth and the Rhydon. And just as a setup sweeper, it's such a big threat. Z moves on it just make it so much better. You can run a lot more sets than just like standard D-Dance 3 attack. You can run stuff like Taunt. You can run Resto, Chesto, or Rest Sleep Talk. So yeah, a lot of options there.
Yeah. While you're at it, go ahead and talk about this last round Volcanion coming in from Milan.
Another Pokemon that I'm quite a big fan of, Massive Wall Breaker, which is something that he was definitely appreciates. The fact that he's gotten this paired with Mega Diancie and Garchomp is fantastic. Mega Diancie, of course, is going to be great at breaking through those dragon types that are going to be walling the Volcanion. And the Garchomp, of course, is going to be really nice for just like coming in on the steel types. Not the steel types, the electric types, sorry, and putting in some damage. So I definitely really like that pick.
Yeah, last pick for Dave coming in is Glalie. Certainly not Mega Glalie, but Glalie still offers some decent options. Gives him spikes, gives him an Ice Shard user. You know, when you're digging down this deep, you're just looking, hoping something will be there to help you out. And Glalie can offer a few options for him. With Ice Shard, with spikes, but certainly not going to be blowing anybody away. But it does get the clutch switcheroo. It's always a great move to have. Anything that tricks or switcheroo, Glalie does get switcheroo, which brings it maybe a little bit of fun value.
So next up, we see Frogadier from Hutch. Hutch actually drafted this in the UPA as well. And despite drafting it and finding out that it only gets T-Spikes, he decided to draft it again. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure there's better T-Spike users in Tier 6 that he could have gone with. That being said, T-Spikes is always fantastic, so I don't blame him for wanting T-Spikes again. No, it was definitely T-Spike. Are you sure? Spike's still very good. Regardless, it's definitely Toxic Spikes. I triple checked. It gets Toxic Spikes. It's 100%. I'm on it right now, dude. It gets Toxic Spikes. Very handy for his team, which is always nice to have. And we see a Prinplup from AZ.
Prinplup most definitely does not get Toxic Spikes, in case anyone was wondering. It does get Defog. It is actually a bulky water, believe it or not. Decent mon. Gives him the Defog option. I like Prinplup. It's not going to be exciting. No one's going to, lose their mind for Prinplup. But it can serve a couple of options. It can do a couple of decent things for AZ. I have no problem with this pick. Hutch is quietly whispering what to get in the background, which I personally really enjoy.
So do I. Speaking of what to get, Damasto has decided that Wartortle is that answer. gives him a spin option, and his removal wasn't necessarily fantastic before. Relying on Mew and Superior to really remove is not what you want to see. Wartortle is not going to help that issue a lot because, of course, it is a tier 6. But with the Violite, it's going to be pretty decently bulky. Going to be able to take some hits fairly well. And yeah, just do the same thing as Blastoise does, but worse.
Yeah, you know, base 80 defense, base 80 Spadaf mixed in with Eviolite, it's really not a bad option. It's decently bulky.
Yeah, for sure. And coming from me, we have the Mega Altaria as the last pick.
So Mega Altaria is a mon. I think, was it me and you that were talking the other day? It was me and somebody talking the other day, saying one of the main things that is encouraging me to come back to Draft League is because I've really been wanting to use Mega Altaria. It's a mon that I've always enjoyed. It's strong. You can click D-Dance, it can sweep. It's a really strong special attacker. It's a nice support mon. It does need some help in other areas. It can't work by itself, but it's got a Slowbro. It's got an Amoonguss that can get a Spore off that could maybe help Altaria get set up. It's got Raikou that can Volt Switch. It's got Cobalion that can Volt Switch. Tornadus that can U-turn. It's got the support around it to be a successful tier 1 pick, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like has so many role compression options, but we see a Glaceon coming out from Suzy. Quite a nice ice type, got some pretty solid bulk. If you remember Gen 5, this thing with Snowcloak was definitely doing it big on Hailstall. Wish passing is always handy to have, and it's not even that weak. Blizzard will hurt from this thing. Doesn't have the best coverage, but I could see in conjunction with Mamoswine potentially, Hail could be a niche option there.
Sure.
But yeah, definitely going to be mainly there for the Wish support. But we see a Escavalier come out from TCP next.
Powerful metal bug. Not that there's a lot of other metal bug options, but there is a few that are also strong. This one's probably my favorite one of them all. Escavalier is slow, but it's good in Trick Room. It's got knockoff. It's got Mega Horn. Iron Head certainly. Sword Stance. Really great choice band user. I'm a big fan of Escavalier. I think if you're looking at last round picks, short of those that saved a lot of extra points, this is about as good as it's going to get.
And coming in next, we have Barbaracle. Apparently, he was tossing up Barbaracle and Kingler, and he made the wrong choice.
He did make the wrong choice.
Barbaracle gets Shell Smash, which is quite nice. He can definitely pull off some sweeps with that. In the same way that every other Shell Smash ever does. Runs the sturdy White Herb or whatever. You know, just does Barbaracle things. It doesn't offer as much support as a lot of the other Shell Smashes do, but the water typing is very nice offensively. I definitely would have preferred to see a Kingler here just because the adaptability boosted liquidations are going to be doing a lot more damage immediately. But yeah, that wraps up the draft.
So last seconds before we go offline, I do want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank our coaches for being here. We had very few delays during this draft. I'm a big thank you to everybody for their hard work. Thank you to Excellent Name for stepping in when we had some technical difficulties. Much did a good job running the stream. Big thanks to everybody, and good luck on season 6. Let's make it the best season yet. Our competition, season 6, is better than it's ever been. It's only going to get harder, and I'm excited to see what people do.
Yeah, so as Brad just explained, that is going to wrap up the ASL Season 6 draft. In terms of the ASL YouTube channel, we should have a post-draft analysis ranking every team based on a grading scale. So that should be coming out within the next couple of days. And yeah, thank you guys all for joining us. And we will see you guys in the coming weeks with a lot of videos.
See ya.
See ya.